Hello motherfuckers, and welcome to my club of Kottontales, a place for me to be 100% me. I am very glad to not be wearing my headset right now. I even had to take my clip out of my hair because there's so much tension on all portions of my head. It just aches. I switched around my laundry, made myself some oatmeal, and came back to Club Kottontale, of course, because I don't really have, oh, see? Man, there's Rapunzel. You are, man. Fucking rift in time. It costs money, right? Oh, okay. It says it's currently unavailable. Why is it unavailable? Like, how is it gonna tell me about it and then say that it's currently unavailable? Like, that's so redonk. Anyways, so, hello and welcome. Blue Bear here says, romance is coming, and I'm just going to flow with the moisture. I'm moist, are you? To be moist is simply to be oneself, 100%, regardless what any motherfucker thinks of them, because we know when we love ourselves, we were truly loved. It feels really nice to not have my headset on. I have enough pressure in my head right now. I don't need any added pressure. Pressure. I was gonna make my bed, but my fucking bedding was so hot that it was kind of burning my skin. So I just like threw it on the bed and was like, I'll come back to you later. But I have the last little bit of my bedding in the washing machine now. I also had another giant comforter. I need to put something in the washing machine. Oh, scheiße. I had some jackets I had to put into the load. But all the bedding is in there, and now the only other thing I needed to wash is in there. Ah! Okay. Jeebus. Jaba lubba deeba da biddies a jeebus. Okay. Oh, now I'm warm. First I'm cold, now I'm warm. It's fucking, it sounds like you're sick. Oh, that's because I am. And I seriously feel like poo-poo. Poo-poo-poo-poo. Ugh. Man. And it's like, I'm sick, but then I also have a tooth shifting, so I have tooth pain too. And I'm just like, ugh. Like, if like, one could just subside. Watch, they're both going to subside at the same time. Which will be cool, because then at least I'm not having to deal with it anymore, but I'd like to only have one. I think my body was like, you know what? let's just give her double the miserable, so then she could get it over with. And that's how I'm going to prefer to think about it. Oh. Oh man, am I gonna sneeze again? Probably. Nope. Nope. Damn it. It's frustrating when a sneeze dissipates without it coming to full fruition. Blueberry says romance is coming. Aww. What a fun. Whoa, 24 people watching? Hell no. Oh. It was a crafting. Dude. Cottontail's Corner. Crafting, motherfuckers. Dude. Yeah. Damn. You know, I don't miss some of the cesspooliness. I just don't. Nope. Nope, nope, nope. But it is interesting to come across meetings that are from 6 years ago. I'm like, whoa. It's like a whole other Cottontail. Alrighty-o. Okay. Oh. Oh. I see. Just like how they had the Elsa one, they now have, oh my gosh, OMG. That is just awesome. But yeah, we'll eventually have to get Adventurous Anna, because we have Elsa's. Oh my god, the cute little birdies. A lovebird duo. How adorable. But we are working on these duties, the same duties. Go fish with some bass. Man, bane of my existence. But we also can bring a gift to Mirabelle, chat with Maui, and give 2 gifts to Vanellope. Let's start with Vanellope's in her house, so let's start with Vanellope. Vanellope gets 2 more gifts. And yeah, see, we have 2 different Elsa ones. Definitely looking forward to having the 2 versions of Anna. I feel like it's more expensive than the Elsa one, but who knows. Okay, Vanellope. We will make her a margarita. Probably pronounced that wrong. Margarita? The pizza. And then we will get her a white passion lily. So Margarahata. Yeah, it just looks like margarita to me. Maybe it is a margarita pizza. Who fucking knows, right? Not to me, I don't know. Damn, that looks good though. Oh, I'd eat the fuck out of that right now. Yum, yum, yummy. That looks so yummy. Yum, yum, yummy. Alright. We're looking for a white flower that is by itself. Is that a white one? No, that's a green. Oop, there's a white one. Pick up. Alright. To Vanellope's house. Hello, Vanellope. Please still be in here. And we missed 222. Well, that's okay. Yeah. I would like to talk with you. Thank you. I have some gifts for you. Beautiful flower for a beautiful lady. And a delicious pizza. Oh yeah. I love it, I love it, I love it. Alright. Oh, thank you. Oh, thank you, thank you. Alright, so now we've done that one. Ooh, collect some sandy seafood. That will be fairly simple. Yes, we like the fairly simple ones. Let's see what Mirabelle. Encanto. Okay, she got lots of things. I think we'll make a seafood salad for her. Oh man. Ugh. Mm. Dude, the candy path is awesome. Oh, Elsa, you look so beautiful. Okay, I need to find... Here is Maui, and there's Mirabelle. Sweet, so I will come here. Mirabelle! Oh. Oh, man. Hola, casita. You tweaking a little bit there. Okay. Oh, Maui. Okay, Mirabelle's in her house. Okay, Maui is going this way. Maui, demigod of the wind and sea. How you doing? I have something for you. Wait, no. I tell me something about yourself. let's go with iguana. Iguana is a vastly underrated animal. It's small, sure, but it's a good climber. And sometimes it helps to be small so you can wiggle through tiny spaces. Yes, quite right. Cook some above average meals. Okay. Above average. Man, I tell you, the shop has been bogged out. I don't know why it's so fucking bogged out, but it is, and it annoys the shit out of me. Because every time I go by it, it's the same fucking thing in the storefront. Where are my pretty dresses, man? Give me other outfits. But no. Were you seriously just sniffing that thorn? Okay. Akuta. You do what you want there, Stitch. I'm not gonna question. Ooh, green boobala. Oh. My ears hurt. My tooth hurts. Which makes my ear, damn it, makes my ear hurt more. Such a beautiful night. Did I get them all? Yeah, buddy. What do you have for me? Ah, yes, a little blue satchel. Don't mind if I do these. Oh, my pets. You're so cute. Come here. I want to pet you too. Come here. Where are you going? Did I pet the fox already? I don't think I did. Okay, so dandelions, right? Traditionally yellow. Something has been tripping me out, and I need to take a picture of it the next time I see one. But the dandelions I have been seeing are white with like a magenta. And they're beautiful, but I'm also like, when did dandelions not yellow? You know what I mean? Like, it's got me all sorts of tripped out. Alright, cool. Let's see any more night thorns up her. Oh, there's a night thorn. Is Mirabelle still in her house? Yes, she is. Mirabelle, hola casita. I'm coming to visit Mirabelle. Mirabelle. Ooh, also, let's talk about Miss Baby.
Warning, he's met with a less than accepting response. Diomedes proposes a giant fuck that to the Trojans' proposal, though they do agree that each side may remove their dead and handle the rites in their own way. So, that's something. Meanwhile, though, the gods are all watching all of this go down, and each have their own opinions on the matter. Because, you see, the Greeks have been building forts and walls to protect all their ships, and for once Poseidon is in the mix up on Olympus, and he's discussing his concerns with Zeus. You see, the wall surrounding the city of Troy was built in Poseidon's honor, and so he's pretty pissed to see the Greeks building a similar, if far shittier, structure without having sacrificed to the gods appropriately. Zeus, though, tells Poseidon not to worry himself because his wall is still far greater. Men and pointless, stupid border walls, am I right?
Oh man, even that's too much pressure.
Thank you all for listening, as usual. I have a fun new announcement this time, though, in that today's episode was brought to you via extra amazing help from Emily Sanchez. Emily is a listener who's doing a degree in classics. A good choice, Emily. And who has so graciously offered to help me with some of the research for the podcast. Emily helped immensely, providing me with awesome notes on the Iliad that made it so much easier for me to do this thing. Thank you, Emily! As usual, I would be so appreciative if you would rate and review on iTunes. It truly does help me, and ideally this thing grows fast and means that I'm able to devote more time to this podcast, bringing you more episodes and more often. Wouldn't it be cool if I were able to do weekly episodes again?
I did not get her
Let's
stuff
help me make
first.
that happen,
Mother, you know what?
dear lovely
Let's hang
listeners.
out.
also say that I finally released another Patreon-only episode. I've discussed the Disney movie Hercules in great detail, and boy, was it fun to do. Hopefully all you lovely Patreon patrons agree that it's just as fun to listen to. Now that I've finally done that, I'd also love to get input on what movie or TV show I should watch next for those Patreon episodes. Feel free to reach out. I'm also working on ideas for a newsletter, since so many of you lovely folks want to stay in touch. So hopefully stay tuned for more information on that. And if you want to sign up and haven't had a chance to already, you can add your email to my list by visiting my website, MooiissttBaby.com. Of course, as always, you can follow me everywhere. I'm MooiissttBaby in all those places. While I don't always have time to respond to everyone, I do read all of your lovely messages, and I'm always so thrilled to hear from you. Spread the nerd love, am I right? Anyway, I'm Liv, and I obviously fucking love this shit.
Your listening pleasure, keep just Snipping the Mic podcasts as you dance. Everyone in our country has a voice. It's something that says not
Athena a bit, because that's just gross and troubling skills.
to all those delicious sons.
So that is a day late. Hi, hello, welcome to Let's Talk About Myths, baby. This is a podcast where I tell you stuff about stuff, and that stuff is mythological. Thanks for your patience on this episode that is a day late. I wish I had a good excuse or some fancy reason, but honestly I put this off until the last minute because, frankly, that's just what I do. And then Monday got away from me, and by the time I had a chance to sit down and write this episode, it was like 5 p.m. and I had to write minimum 4,000 words and then record it, and, well, that just wasn't going to happen, because I also love having at least a decent portion of the evening to be a lazy butt and make myself a nice dinner. But anyway, I'm here now, and we're talking about those wonderful people, those ancient Greeks, with the amazing names and the impressive skills, and those Greek gods and goddesses with the amazing names and the kind of gross and troubling skills. We're back this week digging deeper and deeper into that infamous old war, the Trojan one, you know it. There's a part about a horse coming. Where we last left off, it was decided that Hector and Ajax were going to fight. But then they were so evenly matched that some dude told them to just shake hands and be friends because clearly they were both so well loved by the gods. So they did this. They chilled out for a bit. But meanwhile, Poseidon was pissed because of a wall, even though that's the stupidest fucking hill to die on. This is episode
Return of
34,
Achilles.
The Iliad, Part 7, Return of Achilles. Sort of.
Sort of.
In case you thought that this story didn't have enough Zeus in it so far, fear not. We open this next
Pink
chapter
flower
of the
for
Trojan
you.
War with
Buenos
Zeus pulling
dias.
together a council of the gods up on Mount Olympus. He sits everyone down and he tells them that they are not to fuck with the Trojans, not under any circumstances. He tells the gods and the goddesses assembled that he wants this shit over with. It's taking too long, and if any of them fuck with either side, then it's obviously going to take even longer to wrap this nonsense up. Then he goes on an epic rant about how he's Zeus and he's the best and everyone else is the worst, and he just goes on and on, flattering himself, even though, as we all know, Zeus is certainly not the best Greek god. Not by far. Then, after capitulating to Athena a bit, because that's just what Zeus does when it comes to Athena, he heads on his merry way. He takes his fancy King of the Gods chariot, and he rides up to the top of Mount Ida, which overlooks the battleground. There he settles in with a big bag of popcorn to watch the goings-on down on Earth, between the Greeks and the Trojans. Can't you just picture him, crunching away on his popcorn, pieces stuck in his beard, as he stares at the bloodshed taking place just below? Now, down below, the two sides are dealing with a slight bit of downtime from the last incident between Hector and Ajax. The two sides eat a nice meal, separately of course, and then they prepare to fight yet again. There's blood, and there's guts, and violence, and death, and Zeus watches, popcorn in hand, his fingers getting all greasy and salty. Finally, neither side is gaining any ground, and so Zeus decides he's going to weigh the fates of either side. He holds up a scale, he places the doom of the Greeks and the doom of the Trojans, one on either side of the scale, and he watches. It's the Greek side that sinks towards the earth. And so just like that, Zeus fires thunder and lightning onto the Greek side of the battle, and the tides turn against them. Big time. Lightning is raining down around the Greeks, and they begin to pull back. It's a bit of an understatement, actually. Really, it's almost all of them are straight up running away in fear. It's not looking good for them Greeks. Only a few of the men are left on the battlefield. One is, of course, Diomedes, who's still being fucking crazy, and the other is Nestor. Though Nestor is only there because his horses have been wounded by an arrow sent by Paris. Things aren't going well for Nestor, and Diomedes basically just tells him that he's too fucking old, which seems a little mean because Nestor tends to be one of the most level-headed and generally good dudes on the side of the Greeks. Nestor and Diomedes keep going against the Trojans, even in the face of this not great situation for their side of the battle. But finally, Nestor sees reason, and he's all, look, dude, this isn't our day. Zeus is clearly calling for Hector to win today, so there's no point in fighting it. Maybe another day Zeus will call for us to win. Wouldn't that be nice? Which, what a fucking shitty way to live. Like, yeah, I guess this all-powerful being just wants me dead today. Better head back to bed and wait for him to change his mind and decide I should be alive. In response to this, Diomedes voices his concern that if he backs off, then he'll basically be fodder for Hector to brag about how he scared off old Diomedes, because his ego and his reputation is his only concern. Again, with the toxic masculinity. But of course, once more, Nestor's the one who sees sense, and he tells Diomedes that that won't happen, essentially crediting everyone Diomedes killed and all the children he's left fatherless as proof that no one is scaring off Diomedes except Zeus himself. Seriously, what a good guy Diomedes is. Hector goes after the Greeks, though specifically Diomedes and Nestor, who are still in the line of fire. He plans to fight them all the way back to the Greek ships on the beach and force them to leave the shores of Troy right this very moment. But of course, this causes Hera to get annoyed, because she's watching it all just as intently as Zeus, so she decides to take it into her own hands. My windows are open because it's really hot, and I'm sorry at the noise that's coming in. She goes to Agamemnon and inspires him to inspire his troops. I love this idea that people in Greece did little to nothing good without the influence of the gods. He couldn't possibly have inspired his troops on his own. He needed Hera's help. So, score one single point for women, even if it's a woman doing this to help a whole slew of men, but whatever, the point stands. Hera inspires Agamemnon to inspire. Agamemnon gives one of his oh-so-rousing speeches before offering a prayer to Zeus to help the Greeks and show that they won't be utterly and completely destroyed on this.
What a place to put a booby.
Zeus shows that, for once, he's actually listening, and he sends a sign to show Agamemnon that he's been heard. He sends an eagle, which is always a symbol of Zeus, and that eagle is holding a fawn in its talons, which is just straight up mean, but whatever, the Greeks didn't seem to care much about the lives of cute baby animals. Vegans, they were not. The Greeks see this sign and they are filled with a new sense of urgency and bravery. All it takes is a massive bird holding a helpless baby deer in its razor-sharp talons, then everyone's all gung-ho. The newly reawakened Greeks ride out against the Trojans. Diomedes, of course, is in the lead because he's always got to show off and be a jerk. Homer tells us that he's followed by what is an extensive list of the Greeks, and then he shares why each of those Greeks were important. Homer was nothing if not repetitive. What follows this is basically just another list of people, this time those that are being killed, by a guy with a bow who's working with Ajax.
Above average, probably like a 3-star.
Shoot people dead with his bow. But there's always a lot of backstory and family history on the people killed, as if giving everyone an epic personal history makes them more sympathetic. Which is an important plot device when you're not talking about hundreds of names of ancient Greek dudes. There's just too many names and pointless details, Homer. Seriously, get an editor. Now, I would be remiss if I didn't sometimes follow up this criticism of Homer with a bit of an explanation as to why these details are included. From my understanding, it's another of those things that was likely edited and added to over time. People wanted to know that their ancestors were involved in the war somehow, or they wanted to link famous mythological characters to other famous mythological characters, or they wanted to link regions in Greece or Asia Minor or wherever also to the battle. Basically, there were reasons for Homer's extensive and exhaustive lists of people, but frankly, they're not great reasons, and the lists are just so over the top. Long story short, this archer, Teucer, who's shooting the arrows at everyone, is actually aiming at Hector. There's a suspenseful moment where he doesn't hit Hector, but he hits another Trojan whose backstory we get before he goes back to aiming at the important one, Hector. But before Teucer can get loose another shot at Hector, Hector gets super pissed about the other Trojans this dude has just killed in the process, and he rushes at him, holding a massive rock in his hands, and he slams it down on the Greek where the collarbone meets the chest and brings this man down in one fell swoop. Ajax notices immediately, and they quickly get the incredibly, probably deathly injured Teucer off the battlefield and back to the Greek tents. I was probably pronouncing his name wrong. It's a C, and it's unclear if it's a soft or a hard C. I don't care. I'm sorry. This section of the Iliad is basically just a series of events that constantly switch the tide of the battle between the two sides. As soon as the Trojans seem like they're winning, Zeus sends an eagle with a cute baby deer it's going to kill, and then the Greeks seem like they're winning. And then Hector kills a dude who's close with the important dude, Ajax, and then the Trojans seem like they're winning again. Seriously, no one is gaining any ground, and it's just non-stop madness. War. Am I right? But of course, none of this can happen without some god or another realizing that they have a stake in whichever side winning. So now it's Athena and Hera who are looking at Hector as he decimates the Greeks once again, and they ask themselves, is there nothing they can do to help their precious, precious Greeks? Between them, they decide that they will help the Greeks. But then, of course, Zeus sees this, and then he sends a messenger to ask them what the hell they think they're doing. And so Athena and Hera decide, well, maybe they won't help the Greeks, and no one has gotten anywhere, and nothing has changed, and yet pages of the Iliad have gone by. The gods are still poking their nose into both sides of the business, and Hera and Athena are trying to convince Zeus that the Greeks need their help. But Zeus is pissed that they've yet again done the opposite of what he's asked them to do.
Fucking fishing.
He tells them both that Hector will not stop attacking and destroying the Greeks until he's reached their ship.
Just fishing,
which will
fishing.
finally force Achilles to come out and fight. That's right. Achilles is finally back in the mix. That guy, am I right? And so night falls on this bloody, epic battle yet again. The Trojans are disappointed. They will have to stop killing for a little bit. The Greeks are thrilled. They will get to stop dying for a little bit. Hector takes this opportunity to give a speech. He tells the Trojans basically that he's bummed. They have to stop because it's gotten dark, but they'll start again in the morning. But he speaks of how they'll finish off the Greeks and how the only ones who will get away and onto their ships will be wounded. To warn others off from seeking to wage war against the Trojans.
Black knee highs, don't mind if I do.
Sure, they will win. He's certain. Hector calls for all the old and young men, those who aren't fighting with their Trojan brothers, for them to camp out on the walls of the city so that they may watch as their people are victorious. And that all the women in the walls of the city of Troy light a fire and keep a vigil to prevent any Greeks from slipping past the walls. That's
a pink one.
He wants to make sure no Greeks get into the walls of the city of Troy.
everyone in our country has a voice. It's something that says not just where you come from, but who you are.
It's like a Monsters Incorporated
Black
desk.
Stories, Black Truths. A collection of podcasts and a celebration of the hosts in journalism who've always spoken truth to power. Our voices are as varied, nuanced, and dynamic as the Black experience, and stories should never be about us without us. Find NPR Black Stories, Black Truths on the iHeartRadio app or wherever you get your podcasts.
If you've ever wondered if you can pull off cowboy boots, then you should pull on a pair of Tacovas. Comfortable right out of the box and available in dozens of timeless men's and women's styles. Their handcrafted boots are ready to put the world at your heels. When comfort leads, confidence follows. And Tacovas delivers both right to your door. Visit Tacovas.com. That's TECOVAS.com. And don't go gently. You'll love where you're headed.
Bamboo thatched
Azure Standard
wall.
presents David's Corner with founder and organic pioneer David Stelzer.
Sometimes it is easy to see the scarcity in our lives. But I
Mickey
tell
Mouse
you that God
Synergy
created
wallpaper.
enough abundance.
Synergy.
Sometimes we just have to work for it a little bit. So create.
I feel like synergy is not even a word. It's just something that people say to make things sound extra fancy. Watch, it does actually have something meaning to it.
Here at Azure, our job is to create abundance. Remember,
Free at AzureStandard.com.
Meanwhile, at the Greek camp, the speech Agamemnon is giving to the Greeks is going quite differently. Agamemnon appears before the assembled
It's all
Greeks,
Wally
whoever's
outfit
left alive,
stuff.
in
That's
tears.
interesting.
He
Ow!
tells them that the war is a failure, that although Zeus once promised him that he would be successful in his battle against the Trojans, he has since gone back on his word. He tells the Greeks that it's clear that Zeus wants them to leave, to return in disgrace to their Greek homelands. But not everyone is happy with this interpretation of recent events. Shocker of shockers, it's Diomedes that stands up to Agamemnon and says, essentially, what the fuck are you doing?
Alright, well, I guess we just,
He calls out Agamemnon
a lot
for
of
assuming
fishing.
that all the Greeks are cowards who
It's
would
like
want
my
to
least
run
favorite
home
thing to
just
do
because they're
in the
being
game.
totally ruined. Zeus has thrown lightning
That's
bolts
annoying.
at them, and basically all seems fucking lost.
But that's why she's in a little fisher
He says that he'll
woman's
stay behind
outfit.
even if it's
Monster
just him
themed,
and
because
Cal,
it's
who I think is the guy whose name
Monsters
I've never tried to
Incorporated
pronounce,
is
so why
the
should I
Star
try?
Path.
Though it's not clear that this friend of Diomedes actually volunteers himself to be one of the ones who is to stay behind to fight all the remaining Trojans. But Diomedes seems certain that he'll stay. But to Agamemnon's surprise, all the Greeks yell and cheer at Diomedes' suggestion. They're not ready to give up either. Of course, to every risky suggestion by Diomedes comes a measured and reasonable one from Nestor. And so in response to Diomedes' proposal that they stay and continue to fight, Nestor makes the very, very valid point that maybe, just maybe, it's time for Agamemnon to go apologize to Achilles for taking away Briseis. Oh, so long ago. Achilles, a guy they call the best of the Greeks, who has just been sitting in his tent, twiddling his goddamn thumbs all this time, just because Agamemnon is a little dick who refuses to accept that he's wrong and needs to apologize. Oh, how things might have gone if Agamemnon hadn't pissed off a demigod in the first place. Agamemnon knows that this is the only solution, and he quickly agrees with Nestor, conceding that he shouldn't have pissed off Achilles in the first place. He was angry and jealous and just looking to cause trouble. He then proceeds to list every fucking thing he plans to give Achilles as an apology, which is basically everything you could ever possibly imagine. It is a long list. A crazy long list. Tripods, gold, horses, cauldrons, women, so many women.
Smoke with Friends featuring Let's Talk About Miss Baby.
Nothing more than a trinket you've been collecting but are willing to part with.
Also, my tooth is fucking killing me.
To cap it off, though, Agamemnon says that he will even return Briseis.
Smoke with besties, toke with friends. Got my messenger on the other end.
I didn't even rape her. What a good guy I am. Point being, Agamemnon is right. Sorry, or he's just realizing.
Your presence in my life makes existing just a little bit easier. A lot of it easier, let's be honest. I'm so thankful for you. Buddy ears and there's little hearts.
The delegations put together one that will go to Achilles without Agamemnon, not with the apology of gifts. The Phoenix, Odysseus, and Ajax arrive. They find Achilles in all his hotness, playing fine in his tent, just chilling, as if there weren't epic, insane war raging all around him. With him is Patroclus. Oh, Patroclus. Those who have also read the book are aching. Usually my heart just kind of froze. So anyway, the delegation Achilles with him, Patroclus, and Achilles and Patroclus welcome him to the tent they share because they're Achilles and Patroclus, and they offer the delegation stronger than normal wine. Things are going well so far. Finally, after they've all gotten comfortable, had some drinks, eaten some food, Odysseus sees his opportunity. He speaks up, announcing why they've come to see Achilles. He tells him everything that's happened.
Fishing all day long. Fishing, fishing.
Why he should come and help the other Greeks. Then, of course, because it's Homer, he simply repeats the entire epic list of things that Agamemnon is willing to give Achilles in return for him coming back to fight. Achilles is quick to answer. He thanks Odysseus and is slightly sympathetic to their plight.
I'm all about that bass, about that bass.
He won't be going back to fight for Agamemnon.
All about that bass, no other.
What he doesn't say is that he's being a selfish little bitch who's willing to watch everyone he knows die just because Agamemnon embarrassed him a bit ages ago. He talks about how he's the only one that had his prize taken away.
Usually is tilapia, just like in the meadow. The blue is usually green, but sometimes blue ends up being bass. It's the white and blue spots. Bass?
He won't help the Greeks. He'll sail
no,
home
it's
with
like
his
a carp.
myrmidons, and that's that. But it's not Odysseus that speaks next in response to this from Achilles. Instead, it's
Sunlit
Phoenix,
plateau, forest of Valor,
but was once
peaceful meadow, and the frosted heights are where we can find bass.
Was with him long before the war.
You think it would be easy to get it, but it's not. Lucky
Raised him. The response to Achilles is selfish and straight up depressing response to the Greeks' request.
I'm gonna say fuck this blue spot, but watch. It will end up being bass. And now that I talked about it, it's just gonna end up being a tilapia.
But for now, know that it's a tale that is important to the moment at hand and what is being asked of Achilles. Ultimately, Phoenix is asking Achilles to look past the glory and his pride and instead to look at the humanity. His people need him. They'll die without him. Can't he get past his squabble with Agamemnon? Can't he accept the gifts that are being offered and help for the sake of helping? Phoenix tells Achilles that that alone should be glory enough. But Achilles disagrees. He tells Phoenix that that isn't enough. He's been disgraced by Agamemnon and he's not backing down. And anyway, he has glory enough by being the best of the Greeks and honored by the gods. He's being a giant dink, frankly. He tells Phoenix that he won't change his mind, but that Phoenix doesn't have to go the way of the Greeks. The rest of the delegation needs to leave, but he tells Phoenix that he should stay and sail off to Phthia with Achilles and Patroclus and the Myrmidons. A word I almost spelled as Myrmidongs, which I just think is fun. Truly, Achilles is just being a real asshole right now. He's lucky I've read the Song of Achilles and am 100% invested in his relationship with Patroclus and therefore can't find it in myself to truly hate him as a character. Poor Phoenix, though, is having a tough time with this. He wants to help the Greeks. He knows they'll die otherwise. He wants Achilles to help, because that is their only chance. But at the same time, he can't leave Achilles, and he can't have Achilles leave without him. He's known Achilles since he was a kid, and he has a whole story about how his own family is pretty horrendous, and so Achilles is his family. He needs to stay with him, even if it means abandoning the Greeks in their time of need. So Phoenix decides he will stay with Achilles and Patroclus, and Achilles sends the rest of the delegation back to the Greek camps. They are to report to Agamemnon that he's not forgiven, and that Achilles will be providing no help to the Greeks. So you guys, how about those Greeks and those Trojans? Just endless back and forth nonsense and endless gods stepping in to try to fuck shit up, sometimes succeeding and sometimes not because another god is also trying to fuck shit up. They were petty motherfuckers, these primordial deities. What trouble they like to cause. Stories like this are the most fascinating part about the ancient Greek religious tradition. I mean, could you imagine living in a world where you legitimately thought that the gods were so involved in the lives of your people that they would do anything to fuck you over? Even if it meant fucking over a specific person or a specific group?
Come on,
I mean, how would you live your life? You'd be constantly afraid you're going to piss someone off by stepping on a certain flower or killing a certain dude with a spear. It just seems like a really tough way to live. So much fear. Lucky most modern religions have dropped that fear aspect. Anyway, thanks all for listening and for reaching out lately. It's been a big week for you lovely people getting in touch. So again, I say a big thank you for all the messages you send. I can't answer them all, but I do read them all, and it makes me so, so happy. Also, once again, this episode was brought to you via the help of Emily Sanchez, who is lovely and is providing me with immensely helpful notes on the Iliad, so I can get my shit together and figure out which nonsense I'm going to relay to you all in any given episode. Seriously, so much happens in the Iliad, but also there is so much useless nonsense. Just a string of names you'll never need again, or information that is just so unnecessary and would cause pointless confusion were I to explain it all to you. Having someone provide me with notes on the big, important stuff means it's just up to me to pick out otherwise entertaining useless shit and focus on the important plot points aside from those pointless bits that are just too good to pass up. So again, thank you, Emily. As usual, please go right ahead and follow me on any or all social media, as you do. I'm at MythsBaby everywhere. As I mentioned, I'm also intending to start some kind of monthly newsletter. I'm still not 100% sure what it will include, though at this point the consensus seems to be book recommendations, so expect those. Though I'm not entirely sure yet of the format of that. Either way, if you're interested in this forthcoming adventure, you can sign up on my website, mythsbaby.com. That's also where you can help me make this podcast or buy merch if you so choose. Now, before I sign off, I'll leave you with the point that Emily left me in her notes that helped me write today's episode, because I think it's particularly appropriate in this dramatic moment in the Trojan War. And that note is, totally ship Achilles and Patroclus. And to that I say, so do I, Emily, so do I. Guys, read A Song of Achilles if you haven't already, because Achilles and Patroclus have one of the fucking best ever, okay? Thank you all again. You're all wonderful. I'm so glad I found you. And
it's gonna be a white sturgeon though. It's a gold spot.
I absolutely love this shit. I mean, can you tell?
Just like the gold spots in the Sunlit Plateau are walleyes.
Everyone in our country has a voice. It's something that says not just where you come from, but who you are. Welcome. We all can't help but around the next corner. World.
Greatest slavers unite!
All-inclusive vacations make life easy, with endless eats, bottomless drinks, and never-ending fun. So booking an all-inclusive vacation should be easy too, right? That's where Apple Vacations comes in. Book your all-inclusive getaway with Apple Vacations and receive exclusive. Turn on easy mode at applevacations.com or call your local travel advisor to get me.
I'm Liv, lover of myths and often angry feminist. I mean, I'm always a feminist, but I'm not always angry.
Yeah, bass!
This week I bring you a very special episode. You see, July 20th was the 1-year anniversary of this podcast. 1 year ago, I decided I wanted to talk into the void about how crazy the birth of the gods was.
Bass! Oh, it's so happy. Bass,
I've been
baby.
utterly devoted to Greek myths since I was a kid. But
thank you, Frosted Heights.
Frankly, for fun, has given me not only a whole new appreciation for the minds of the ancient Greeks, but also a mind-boggling realization that Zeus, the man we all know and thought we loved, was outright horrific. And, well, I just wanted to talk to you all about it. I didn't know you then, but I knew I wanted to talk to someone about it, and thankfully, you all found me. Since the purpose of this podcast began as a way to introduce the lunacy of Greek myths that is glossed over when you learn it in school, and quickly turned into an examination and rant-filled look at the patriarchy of both ancient Greece and our current world, I thought I would turn to an incredible, female-centric story from these ancient and magnificent people. And so, I give you episode 35, When Women Revolt, Aristophanes' Lysistrata. Aristophanes was an ancient Greek playwright. He wrote comedy, topical, political, and satirical comedy. He offended those in power, and he entertained the masses. He's one of the few Greek playwrights whose work has survived up till now. 11 of his 40 plays have survived, and that's a lot for an ancient Greek playwright. Much of the time he was writing, Athens and Sparta were at war. It's more complicated than that, but this is the salient point. The two main city-states of Greece were at war. War that had been going on for a very long time, decades. It's called the Peloponnesian War. Our story, or rather Aristophanes' story, opens in the midst of that seemingly endless war. In Athens, there's a woman named Lysistrata, and she's waiting on the arrival of other women. Many other women. She's put the call out to the women of Athens and Sparta and all the surrounding city-states. As many women as they can muster, and they're meant to meet with Lysistrata. She has a proposition for the women of the warring regions. Before we go much further, I should mention that the name Lysistrata means liquidator of armies. That's right. Liquidator of armies.
That's a
What
savage
a
name.
Badass name.
Yeah, man.
Even more fascinating than that, at the time that Aristophanes was writing this play, there was a particular woman in Athens. This woman was the top priestess of Athena, the patron goddess of the city. This made her the most important and most famous woman in the city of Athens. And her name was Lysimache. Lysimache means liquidator of battles. So, though it's not explicit, I think it's pretty fucking safe to assume that some of this character that Aristophanes wrote was actually based on this real, and I would like to assume very badass, female. How fucking awesome is that?
Super fucking awesome.
Okay, so Lysistrata is in Athens, and she's waiting on the other women. At first, only her friend Kalonike appears to have shown up in response to Lysistrata's call for females. But slowly but surely, more women begin to arrive. Women from Athens and from Corinth and from Thebes and even from Sparta. Women from all over Greece arrive to speak with Lysistrata and to hear whatever it is she's proposing. She gets right to the point. Lysistrata asks those women how they've been affected by the war. How long have their husbands been away? Don't you miss them when they're gone? The women all have similar stories. Their husbands have been away forever, and it's really been putting a damper on their lives, though, specifically, their sex lives. It's been so long since many of them have had sex. This is even where I learned that the ancient Greeks were apparently happy to discuss the use of dildos, though we learned that, unfortunately, those have even been hard to come by. Life has been fucking tough. Lysistrata asks the women what they would do to end the Peloponnesian War. What lengths would they go to stop all the fighting and the dying? Think of this in the way that the Vietnam War affected America. Too many people they knew were dying, and what was it all for anyway? The women all agreed that they would each do an awful fucking lot if they were able to end this war. There's a consensus. They'd all do an awful lot if they could finally help to end this war that has gone on for far too long and has kept these women's husbands away from them and their beds far too many nights. Lysistrata has brought them there for this reason. She has a proposition, an idea for how they could end the war. The women should withhold sex. This was all too much. It was too much even for the women who had just told Lysistrata what they were willing to do in order to end the war. One woman had claimed she was ready to cut herself in half like a flatfish. But no, this idea of withholding sex, too much. The women weren't willing to go as far as denying themselves sex. Let me also just pause for a moment to tell you how much you should read this play. What a work of art, a masterpiece. How did I not know that there were Greek plays out there where women talked about how much they loved sex? How amazing is it that these are female characters that are talking about how unwilling they are to give up sex, not because it would offend a man or cause them trouble in their marriage, but because they themselves love sex too much they can't give it up. It's fucking awesome. Even the ancient Greeks understood that women also enjoyed sex. What happened in the intervening thousands of years to fuck up that understanding so royally? Oh, right, monotheism. But I digress. The women assembled to speak with Lysistrata give varying levels of detail on how much they love sex and why they're not willing to give it up. In the translation I'm reading, Lysistrata even throws around the word nympho to describe the reactions of these ladies at the very idea. It's awesome. At one point, Lysistrata proposes the ladies just use dildos instead, but one of them is very adamant about how that just isn't good enough. Lysistrata isn't having any of this denial, though. She knows that this is the solution, and she's ready to convince them. She calls to their egos, pointing out that these reactions are just what is expected of them, but they should push past it, because they're strong. She uses reverse psychology, essentially, and they begin to be convinced. The first to come to her senses is Lampito, the main Spartan woman who's been a part of the conversation thus far. She speaks in a weird sort of accent
do
that I
all
don't
the
fully
spots so
understand,
then it
and
can
it
get
doesn't
some
sound
blue
like it could
ones.
be Greek, but who knows?
Because the
I
blue
guess
ones
they're
are the
trying to
ones that have the
transform her into a foreign
shrimp.
place. It's working. She's hard to read. Anyway, Lampito finally agrees to Lysistrata's plan. She wants peace, and if this could work, she's willing to try. Slowly, the others begin to come around, too. It's decided that the women will occupy the Acropolis in protest. This is where all the city's money is kept, and the women figure that the only thing that could stop their protest from being entirely successful is that the men will still have access to all the funds of the city. But if they occupy the place in addition to their sex-related protest, they're golden. Lysistrata explains that while these women have been discussing their plan, there is a group of older women who are working their way towards the Acropolis under the pretense of sacrificing. They'll then prepare it to be occupied by these outspoken and angry ladies. But before they can set out, Lysistrata decides that they must swear an oath to solidify this agreement. And so they do, and it includes stating that not only will they not have sex with their husbands, but they will not have sex with their husbands while simultaneously wearing the sexiest clothes and makeup, which is just a fun addition. And on top of that, the oath includes something that is translated as the lioness on a cheese grater position in reference to sex. So, so many questions there. There's a shout in the distance, and Lysistrata confirms that this means the other women have taken over the Acropolis, so it's time for these recently oathed ladies to join them. This is, of course, a play, so the next thing we know, the ladies have entered the Acropolis and shut the door behind them. Once Lysistrata and her band of sex-denying women have closed themselves up in the Acropolis, we get our first glimpses of some of the very few men in this story. The chorus is a staple of ancient Greek plays that I'm sure I've mentioned before. The chorus is in most, if not all, Greek plays and essentially acts as a kind of explainer and sometimes a judge of what's happening. It's a group of people who are not singled out as individual characters, but that add to the story and act as an important counter to the main characters of the play. But in this case, there are actually two choruses. The first to appear is one that consists of a group of old men. So now, the chorus of old men appear. They're super old, and I mean visibly. They're having trouble walking, they're using canes. The audience is very much supposed to understand that these dudes are about as ancient as the culture I'm talking about. The men complain a lot about the women and what they're doing. They pointedly exclude them from Athenian society in their phrasing, even though the ladies are in the temple to Athena, who's a woman, and most of the rites of the temple and Athena herself are performed by women, but this is very much a statement on women in that time and their importance in relation to their actual worth, which, spoilers, were not super connected. The women were necessary for everything that made Athens Athens, but they certainly weren't considered as such. But thankfully, after the initial complaining of the grouchy old men, there's a whole comedic setup where the men can't get a fire lit properly and keep getting smoke and ash in their faces. It would be very funny to watch. Meanwhile, another group of women is making their way to the Acropolis to join the others. There's a woman that's heading that group, but it is otherwise going to serve as the chorus. The counter to the men's chorus. As this group of women approaches, they see ahead a lot of smoke, and they worry that these crazy old men have lit the place on fire, and that their friends are in danger. The women spring into action and, carrying pitchers of water, race as fast as they can to the Acropolis to rescue the others. Of course, when they get there, they see that these useless old men have only just gotten their torch lit, and in fact, the reason there's so much smoke is that these dudes couldn't figure out how to get a fire going. The women are ready, though, and totally down to fight these old men, which is just a super fun part of the story. They put down their pitchers of water so that, if it comes to it, they can really swing. The two groups exchange very fiery and ancient threats of violence. The men threaten to set the women on fire, or if not them, then their friends inside the Acropolis. The women realize that they have the upper hand here, and they simply pick up their pitchers of water and pour them all over the men, who, sputtering angrily, complain about how wet they've gotten. More fiery and entertaining words are exchanged, but before much more can go down, a magistrate arrives with some policemen, and, without noticing the women or the men, simply has a bit of a soliloquy about how annoying women are in general. The old man complained to this magistrate about how the women poured water on them, and the magistrate proceeds to become an incredible source of comic relief by, in his view, detailing all the ways men spoil women into becoming awful people. Really? Well, this is where I'm going to quote a little. In discussing the ways men pander to women's so-called vices, the magistrate details some examples he has of this pandering.
Come on,
First, he notes a
Bass.
moment when he went to the shops and spoke with his local goldsmith. He told the man that the pin in his wife's necklace had slipped out while she was dancing, so, quote, "If you've got time, could you go over to my place and fit a pin in her hole, please?" Or when speaking to a shoemaker with a, quote, "great strapping organ," about fixing a strap on his wife's sandal, he asks, quote, "Could you go over around lunchtime, perhaps, and loosen it up? Make the opening a little wider?" I guess I just thought that the ancient Greeks would have been a bit more prudish, especially given the way we hear about their treatment of women in myths and other sources, but fuck, this is a lot of obvious and hilarious innuendo. Like, maybe look a little closer at your relationship with your wife, magistrate. I think she's doing things you don't know about. The magistrate, entirely oblivious to the information he's just disclosed about his own marriage, threatens to pry his way in to get at Lysistrata and the other women, but before he can go ahead with anything, she comes out and threatens him. He brings forward one of his policemen before an old woman comes out to defend Lysistrata. This escalates each time an officer comes out, so does another angry old woman, until the magistrate has no more policemen. Finally, the magistrate realizes that he's basically screwed here. The little old ladies have got him, and he's got to negotiate with Lysistrata, or at least pretend he's open to negotiation. Lysistrata is quick to explain the women's position. They want to stop the war, and they're going to do it by denying sex and keeping track of the Athenian money themselves. Seriously, could they have picked a better way to get aristocratic men to sit up and listen? No sex and no money for your war. They've barricaded themselves in the Acropolis to defend the city-state's money and prevent even more corruption in the war effort. Because, spoilers, it sounds like wars have really been about money since the very beginning. The magistrate, of course, questions the women's ability to keep track of the money. Those ladies can't keep track of money, that's a man's job. Though Lysistrata makes the very fucking smart point that these women aren't taking care of the finances in their own homes. Why the fuck wouldn't they be good at taking care of the finances for Athens? The dickish magistrate continues to fight with Lysistrata, whose point is essentially, we're trying to save you from war and death. And his point is, of course, you can't do that, you're a woman. To which Lysistrata replies, quote, we're going to save you whether you like it or not, because she's a badass. Lysistrata continues, making the detailed and magnificent point that these women have stood back on the sidelines and watched the men do whatever they were going to do for so long. They watched the political decisions they made.
Rainbow
and they
Trout, you
had
pissed
their
me
own
off.
opinions, but when they dared to voice them, they were shot down. But they're not doing that anymore. They want to save their men and themselves, and they're going to do it their way. Finally, she says that it's the men's turn to listen. The women will force it if they need to, but they'll be listened to, because their ideas are good. It's the men's turn to shut up and sit back.
We all can't help but wonder what awaits us around the next corner. What new roads are left to be discovered? What adventures lie just over the next ridge? Push beyond your current limits and find out. A Nissan Rogue, Nissan Pathfinder, or Nissan Armada will take you there, where the road leads you and even where the off-road takes you. If you're taking on your adventure in a new 2024 Nissan Rogue, class-exclusive Google built-in is your always updating assistant to call on for almost anything. Whether the adventure is about the destination, the journey itself, or both, your SUV will match your tenacity, mile after mile. And no matter how far you wander, you'll remain tethered to home without even the need to connect your phone. Google Assistant, Google Maps, and Google Play Store are built right into the 12.3-inch HD touchscreen infotainment system of the 2024 Nissan Rogue.
Yeah, BS.
Every one of Nissan's SUVs have the capabilities to take you where you want to go. The world is waiting to be discovered. What are you waiting for? Learn more at nissanusa.com.
The legends are true. Overwhelming power.
Sauce of destiny.
Yes! The most legendary sauce has arrived as McDonald's transforms into the anime world of WickDonald's. The greatest flavors unite in all new savory chili McDonald's sauce to make your 10-piece Wick Nuggets, fries, and Sprite ultra powerful. Unlock manga comics with every meal and sit down for a new anime short every week only at WickDonald's. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba, go! And participate in McDonald's for a limited time while supplies last.
Your getaway with Apple Vacations begins the moment you step on board one of our exclusive non-stop vacation flights. Escape the ordinary with packages starting at just $599. No layovers, just pure relaxation from takeoff to touchdown. Immerse yourself in the joy of travel with Apple Vacations. Your journey is as enchanting as the destination, so pack your bags and leave the rest to us. Visit applevacations.com or call your local travel advisor to book your vacation.
Lysistrata and the magistrate continue their argument. The magistrate's opinion isn't changing, but Lysistrata just keeps making brilliant point after brilliant point. She's defending women everywhere and how they've been affected by this war, not only because their husbands and sons are away, but also because there are so many women who will never have the chance to marry because of the deaths of all the men. And she says, of course, these women aren't just affected in their sex lives. They'll get no freedom and no homes of their own unless they're able to marry. And besides, she says, the women are getting older and the men that do survive will instead be happy to find a younger woman. A generation of women is being created that will forever be a second-class citizen, that is, a second-class citizen by comparison to an already second-class citizenry that is women in general. Eventually, the chorus of women and Lysistrata begin taunting the magistrate. The chorus begins to sing a song, which is a thing that choruses do, and together they deck the magistrate in funereal garb as if he's dying. It finishes with Lysistrata singing a section of an incredibly translated song. Quote, "So why do you wait? You'll make Charon wait. Last call for the next boat to hell." What a song. What a translation. Now, of course, Charon is the ferryman that drives you across the river to the underworld, so he's who you'd be concerned with if you're anywhere near death's door. Finally, the magistrate leaves, and the women and Lysistrata head back into the Acropolis. They leave behind another woman who's been a big part of this exchange, Stratilis, and the two choruses. The male chorus claims that their freedom is at risk and determines that the solution is, well, it's to strip off a layer of clothing and do a dance. I don't totally understand it, but I do appreciate the sentiment. So, the men's chorus strips off their cloaks and dances and sings. Their song includes a claim that what the women are doing is an anti-democratic plot, and that they will resist to tyranny, which is obviously what's going on here. Withholding sex to end a war is definitely both of these things. In response, Stratilis and the women's chorus decides that they too will strip off a layer of clothing. That seems only fair. They follow this with fighting words of their own before Stratilis begins a speech. She tells the men assembled, and importantly, the audience watching the play, that regardless of their gender, these women have as much a right as any to make these points about the society they're a part of. They may not be respected as men, and they may not be permitted to take place in city duties as the men are. But they are as much a part of Athenian society as anyone else. And they've been watching. They've been paying attention as the men fuck everything up with war and corruption. They've watched as their tax dollars have been squandered and their freedoms taken away. As the war goes on and on for no good reason. These women have been watching and they've been paying attention and they are fucking sick of it. The fact that this was written in ancient Greece when women were exactly this, that they had no rights at all and they couldn't do anything. They just, were a huge part of the society and super important and vital to everything and yet had absolutely no freedom or agency of their own. The idea that a male playwright actually recognized that and wrote about it is so thrilling to me. It gives me some faith in ancient Greece. The men's chorus's response to this? A quick quip and then a call to remove their next layer of clothing. Their tunics this time. That's what's coming off. So of course, the only logical next step for the women is to do the same. They remove their next layer of clothing, leaving them naked in front of the Acropolis, having an angry, naked song and dance fight with the men's chorus. This is a comedy after all. After more naked singing and dance fighting, the women gain the upper hand, and the men retire to slightly off stage where they just hang out like weirdos and watch. It's about this time, though it's not entirely clear in the play itself, the few days have passed. The women are still holed up in the Acropolis, holding out against their men. Lysistrata comes back out from the Acropolis, but she's a bit stressed out now. She watches out from the hill. Stratilis asks her, "What's up? What's the problem?" And Lysistrata tells her straight up, "We ladies need a fuck." They use the word fuck in this translation. Ironically, or maybe it's not true irony, the women's chorus responds with a cry of, "Oh, Zeus!" Which Lord knows isn't the dude you want to talk to about fucking, because he will fly straight down and be in and out in the form of some animal or another before you even know what happened.
Alright, got my pillows on. Ugh. My throat is all dry now. Got my pillows done up. That last one I was doing is a big ass pregnancy body pillow that I make into one giant pillow. And I sleep on it in a variety of ways. Sometimes I'll lay on it like you're kind of on your knees. You just lay on it that way. I'll put my body underneath it. I'll put one leg on top, one on bottom, both on top. Yeah, it's fantastic. I love it. I love it, but it's also needed because I can't just lay in one type of position, and while it is, I don't really move very much when I'm sleeping, at all. So whatever position I'm in when I fall asleep, I'll be in that position when I wake up. So I have to do my best to not fall asleep on my left side, because when I wake up, I'm in just horrible pain. But as the doctor says, I can't always sleep on my right side, so I basically just have to switch between my right side and my back. Because right now, laying on my stomach fully, it hurts. That's why, like, I'll lean over the pillow. But if I try laying on my stomach, it hurts my hernia. So, and I can't even imagine what it would be like to sleep on my hernia, or not. That is some things I just don't want to imagine. Oh, man. My ears hurt, my neck hurts, everything hurts. My skin hurts. I hate being sick. Ugh. Also, my boobs have gotten bigger, and they just don't want to stay in this thing. So I'm gonna change real quick. What am I gonna put it in? Maybe I will keep this one. Yeah. Let's make these. This was an awesome Goodwill find. Mai Tai. M-I-T-A-I. M-A-I-T-A-I is the name of the whoever made this, but I freaking love it. So it's super flowy and like it's crisscrossy, so like goes that way, and then it's got a stretchy bit, and what's awesome is it opens completely down there, so if you're not careful, like the wind would go woo woo. But yeah, it's very, very lightweight. I do eventually want to like, because I don't necessarily like these the way they are, so I eventually might add something to it, but it is nice and comfortable, and it's blue and pink. It has pink at the bottom, so my undies are green. I got purple in my hair, so purple, green, blue, and pink. I love it, and it's a pretty green too, so hell yeah. Comfy, comfy, and now I don't have to worry about my boobies falling out. Like, thinking I do like that, and that will probably be the best case scenario. When I eventually get some nice blue thread or something, put it right here. I think that will be good, because it gives it some shape.
Lysistrata explains to Statilis and the women's chorus that the ladies are inside of the Acropolis and have become super hard. They're trying to sneak off, they're coming up with all these crazy reasons why they need to head home to their husbands. One woman even pretends to be pregnant, even though Lysistrata notes that she wasn't pregnant like a single day ago. Seriously, they're all really horny. It's turning into a real problem. Finally, after more innuendo-filled back and forths between the two choruses, we focus on a woman's husband who's arrived to try to convince his wife to leave the Acropolis and head home. He arrives in front of everyone with an enormous hard-on. It's in the stage directions. Enormous erect phallus. And he seriously wants his wife to fuck him. He's even brought their baby in an attempt to convince her that she's needed at home. Myrene, whose husband this is, decides that not only is she going to continue to hold out, but she's going to royally fuck with her husband, who's constantly discussing how he's permanently hard and it's super uncomfortable. And have you seen his giant hard-on yet? Marianne pretends she's going to sleep with him, that they just need to find a good spot. And then they just need to find a bed. And then they just need to find a mattress. And then they just need to find a blanket. And then they just need to find a pillow. And then they just need to find some perfume. And then, well, then she just disappears and leaves her husband with his giant swollen penis. Marianne's husband is still complaining about his ouchie dick when a herald from Sparta arrives.
Ouchie dick!
This man also appears to have a telling bulge in his pants. This will become a trope of the
Fucking ouchie dick.
After exchanging a number of clever dick jokes that are still funny today, the two quickly realize that they are in the same boat. And they make the connection that it's not just women in either city-state that's withholding, but instead, these women are working together. Quickly, both men determine that they're more than willing to give in to these women's demands, because goddamn do they need a fuck. Marianne's husband quickly sends the herald off to discuss this with his Spartan leaders, promising that he'll do the same for Athens. They'll quickly work out the best way to completely give in to the women's demands because, again, they really need to fuck, and at this point, they're basically willing to do anything if it means they can have sex again. Both men leave, and once again, the two choruses are left to their own devices. But you see, now that these two men from Sparta and Athens have determined their predicament and realized how easy it will be for them to get this shit over with, everything seems to fall together quite smoothly. Both choruses, after a little more complaining about the opposite sexes, determine that ultimately, as they say, you can't live with them, can't live without them. And the two kiss and make up, literally, and become one big chorus of men and women. Things are coming around. A delegation of Spartans appear. They too are sporting giant hard-ons in their tunics, and a delegation of Athenians shortly after with the same telltale bulges.
Telltale bulges.
The same stories are told. They all want sex. None of them have women who are willing to have sex with them. Life is hard, literally. Let's make peace. Ending this years-long war is 100% worth it.
6 more
We can have
bios.
sex again. So with that out of the way, they call Lysistrata out of the Acropolis. They're all willing to discuss a plan for peace. Again, because they're horny, and that's all that matters. Shortly after, Lysistrata calls out a woman from inside the Acropolis. She calls her reconciliation, and she's a personified form of exactly this. Around her, and it's sometimes straight up written on her, they plan out how they will get to a peace deal between Athens and Sparta. The two sides discuss what they want and what they're willing to give up. Of course, Lysistrata is the mediator, pointing out when one side is being particularly pig-headed or unreasonable. And in the end, they just want sex. So both sides are able to come to an amicable agreement on what land and what things each side will get in exchange for peace between them. There's a nice song they surely love to sing in ancient Greek plays, and eventually Lysistrata walks out carrying the aegis shield of Athena and looking very much like Athena herself as she appears triumphant. Her crazy plan of withholding sex from men having 100% worked. In fact, it's suggested that Lysistrata is very much intended to be like Athena, if not Athena herself, throughout this. There's many references to Aphrodite at all.
Yes!
None of Athena. It may be that it was Athena who planned this, even if it is entirely out of character for her to side with women in any substantial way. Regardless, though, we're giving Lysistrata the credit here, imagining that she is her own woman and a mortal woman.
Rainbow trout.
She succeeded. It was hilarious and awesome. The wives walk out from behind her, and she motions to each group to return to their husbands. The chorus even couples off, and together they all have a nice little dance and a song. Everything is well, and the men have proven that they're willing to do anything, just so long as they get to have sex whenever they want. And, in conclusion, I'd like to share one final tidbit. All Greek plays were performed by men. Those who were playing female characters were dressed as women. So, yes, that means that all of this took place with a stage full of men, and doesn't that make it funnier and a bit more ridiculous?
Very
You're
much.
welcome.
You're welcome.
So, why did I choose this story? Beyond the fact that I think it's a goddamn outstanding concept to cover, women with little to no political or social power using the one thing they have, sex, to get exactly what they want. But I'll admit, I've known of Aristophanes since my undergrad, and I've heard of, simply, the Lysistrata. It's only of these words that I knew. And I knew it was a Greek play, I knew it was ancient, and I knew that I should read it, but it's really hard to get around to reading Greek plays in translation just for the fun of it. One day, in my Twitter wanderings, let's be honest, my thirst for depression and anxiety, I saw that, if only in certain corners of the internet, a half-joke, half-serious hashtag of Lysistrata 2018 had popped up. Some women, I assume mostly tongue-in-cheek, were suggesting a modern-day Lysistrata protest in an attempt to rein in some of the fucking madness going on in America. I realized in that moment that I didn't know the plot of Lysistrata, or what it meant to be suggesting such a thing right now, so I Googled. And then I realized I was fucking crazy if I didn't do an episode on this play, and then I started reading it and realized how much my life was missing because I hadn't, up to that point, read Aristophanes' Lysistrata. It's such an incredible commentary on the Greek world. Like, they realized that this was crazy, that the women had nothing, even though they were super important. Like, someone realized it and wrote about it. And he wrote about it in a way that is so satirical and so truthful and so crazy, so over the top, but so clearly makes the point he's trying to make. It's amazing. Honestly, there's so much I couldn't include. It's such an incredible work. But also, just this idea that women weren't actually in plays, and I mean, I'm not 100% sure that it applied to simply the Lysistrata, but last I learned, it was all plays. There were no women. And so they're making this super political, super important point about the importance and power of women in Athens, and yet at the same time, there are literally no women on stage. It's so good, so ironic, so ridiculous. The edition I'm using is by Penguin Books and is translated by Alan H. Summerstein, and it's great. It's a rare find when a translation can be entertaining and readable and also include much of the original pace and even rhyming. The chorus is translated wonderfully, where you still get a sense of the sing-song nature of their role, even in the English. I'd highly recommend it, not only because it's a good translation, but also because this play is fucking nuts and actually so funny and so entertaining. There's so much I wasn't able to include because I'd just be reading you guys a list of entertaining lines, and I really shouldn't be quoting directly very much because of copyright and whatnot. There's also so many visual aspects. The sheer number of references to erections is incredible. I can only imagine how hilarious this would have been to watch on stage. I'm incredibly impressed that the comedy holds up so well even now. I mean, I was laughing out loud, like, quite a lot. So anyway, you should just read it, and then let's talk about it, because it's great. Thank you all for listening. You're the best, and thank you all for joining whenever you did, or to those who've been around from the beginning. Also a big thank you. I'll let you know that I'm currently working on releasing the first newsletter, so if you're interested in receiving that, you should head over to my website, mooiissbaby.com, and sign up on my homepage if you haven't already. It will include fun myth facts, book recommendations, any relevant information I've come up with lately, and straight up fun shit from me. Let's be honest, you all want in. Also, if you're a subscriber in the $5 and up category on Patreon, I'm planning my next episode, and there's currently a poll up asking what movie I should watch and discuss next. It's tied right now, which is supremely unhelpful to me, so please head over there and vote. And as usual, follow me everywhere, rate and review on iTunes. I love you all. I'm Liv. I love this shit.
Crab.
We all can't help but wonder what awaits us around the next corner. What new roads are left to be discovered? What adventures lie just over the next ridge? Push beyond your current limits and
We value all those delicious sun-kissed lessons learned in the garden. We're excited to help you create
organic and sustainable local food with still switches local food.
This is Let's Talk About Myths, baby. I'm Liv, and as you may know, I'm a huge nerd. Specifically for mythology, but let's be honest, I'm a nerd about 100 other things too, because I'm human, and, you know, who isn't? I just want to tell you all that, well, it's like 30, no, it's like, I have no idea how to say how hot it is not in, Celsius for you Americans, but basically, it's fucking hot in my my house right now because I live in the Pacific Northwest, and, you know, when the Earth is not dying, we don't have summers like this, and so no one has AC, and so the house is a sauna, and not only that, but as you may have seen on my Instagram or have just heard about in previous episodes, in this new house I record under what I call the podcast ghost, which just means I have to put a sheet over myself and the computer and my microphone and just sit in this little bubble of heat as I listen to myself talk. And, well, I'm melting and just needed to tell you all that, so thanks. On a wonderful note, I'm also excited to announce that this episode is sponsored by Prep Dish, a meal planning service that serves up incredible meal plans and recipes for supremely tasty gluten-free and paleo meals. They do all the heavy lifting when it comes to planning a meal. And frankly, I'm straight up the laziest cook ever, and I can never think of anything halfway decent to cook, so I'm pretty sure Prep Dish is made for me. But more on that later. So, back to ye old Trojan War, which I now feel like I've said about 1,000 times, because, guys, have you ever heard about how long this war lasted? Man, did it ever end? Eventually. And when we get there, there will be patricide and matricide and furies and sea monsters and witches and sirens and the founding of Rome. And I'm giving away too much already. We're still in the war. So let's get back to it. This is episode 36. The Iliad,
We will come
part
back.
8. The beginning of the end.
There's
of
no
the
blue
beginning.
spots, so I'll have to fish all of them and hope to fucking
Achilles
get
has told the Greeks he won't help them.
blue spot so we
Agamemnon
can
offered
get
him
some
anything he could have wanted, and
shrimp.
he's not having it. Achilles is, frankly, a whiny little asshole at this point. Though if you read the Song of Achilles, you'll still be deeply in love with him, because that's just how true love works, okay? Sometimes the man you love is a real dipshit ruining everything for everyone. But Patroclus deals with it, and you deal with it. But as in
And
every
you deal
episode,
with it.
I digress. Achilles won't help the Greeks, but he has offered
3 more bays.
to stay with him and sail home
3
to
more
Philly.
bays.
And Phoenix, of course, feels a devotion to Achilles. He wants to stay with the Greeks, but he also feels that Achilles is almost like a son to him. So what's he to do? Achilles has told the Greeks that he won't fight until Hector is literally on top of him. Hector has to make his way through the entire Greek camp and be near burning the ships and finally reach the Myrmidons' camp, and then, just maybe, Achilles will consider stepping in. Odysseus and the other Greeks assembled to listen to this got the point. Not that it was hard to understand. Achilles wasn't interested in helping them. He was still endlessly angry at Agamemnon. So they returned to Agamemnon's camp to tell him the news. Agamemnon asked immediately, what did Achilles say? Will he help us? Will he save the Greeks from death? Or is he still too wrapped up in his rage? Odysseus doesn't mince words. Dude is not over it. He's still fucking pissed, he tells Agamemnon, in a way that he might have phrased it if he were a millennial. He tells Agamemnon that not only has Achilles said he won't help, but he's also threatening to leave entirely. He's starting to return home after all these years, just as things are finally coming to a head. Odysseus tells them everything, in, of course, great detail, because that's just how Homer did things. And finally, after he's finished, one of the Greeks who's been listening decides he has an opinion. Diomedes, oh Diomedes, stands up and tells Agamemnon off. He tells him that he never should have offered those gifts to Achilles, should never have cowed to him and tried to gain his favor. He'll do what he wants, he'll fight what he wants, or more likely he won't. He's not going to hurt anyone, and that makes him dangerous. So Diomedes advises Agamemnon, ignore Achilles entirely. Instead, as soon as dawn appears over the horizon, band all the Greeks together and send them out to defend our ships and our camps. Urge them on with yourself on the front lines. Let's fight this without Achilles' help. We don't need him anyway.
It's like I know I'm hungry, but I don't want to eat. Oh, man. At least want to get the bass, man.
With the This morning,
bass.
Zeus sends one of my
But probably after we
goddesses
obtain
of
the
all
bass.
time. He sends her to the army of the Greeks. Eris, strife,
But poor little nose.
badass female.
I think after we get the bass, we'll probably end Zy meeting. Well, you know, we haven't even been to the Forgotten Lands yet. There might be some forgetting to collect up there.
She stands there and she screams out a war cry that echoes throughout the camps of the Greeks. Boy, did her yell travel. Because she's Eris and she's fucking awesome. Eris stirs up the hearts of the soldiers, making them angry and vengeful towards the Trojans. She makes them as ready for war as they've ever been. They desire it. They can't wait to get back to the fighting. Eris, she causes strife. The understatement of a lifetime. Agamemnon himself prepares. He puts on his armor and he psychs himself up for the upcoming battle.
Bass!
Not yet, because Eris is involved. I'm going to continue to emphasize not only her importance, but also her badassery. Agamemnon prepares. He covers himself in his armor, which we're told has an extensive backstory, which I have no desire to explain to you because, frankly, it's not that important and it's overly detailed and wordy as per usual.
Come on, bass.
And so the Greeks are ready. They line up their chariots in formation and look down across the fields towards where they'll soon meet the Trojans in this battle.
That is a
that
tilapia.
feels different from those they've had before. Whether it's because they don't know Achilles and that they know he's not coming, or because badass Eris is there stirring shit up. Or maybe both. Regardless, this one is different. On the Trojan side of the forthcoming battle, Hector and Aeneas are stationed with other leaders of the Trojan army, whom I won't name because they would be far too many names. For now, Hector and Aeneas are who we need to know. Hector carries his shield, and he shifts between the front of the ranks to the back, constantly with the troops on all sides, psyching them up. And with that, the two sides rushed each other, swords and shields clang together in what I always think of as such a troubling way to approach a battle. It's almost like that period pieces, you know? They just rush at each other with these swords and whatnot, and basically doesn't everyone in the front get stabbed? Because how could you not? Anyway, I've watched enough Lord of the Rings to have some real opinions on how these battles operate. This is how that went down. Meanwhile, strife. Eris is still inserting herself in this because that's what she does, and isn't she fun? She looks on with joy as this insane violence takes place. Again, swords and shields clanging, blood splattering everywhere. Eris is the only god watching, and she's loving it. The others, the Olympians, sit at home not involving themselves, though still equally annoyed that they can't involve themselves. But later, Zeus watches too, though from farther away. It's Eris who wants to be in the thick of it. Zeus watches in satisfaction, though, because he's a bit dark and just likes to watch humans kill each other. So we love Zeus. The killings continue for hours without much eventfulness except for endless injuries of men we haven't been paying attention to up to this point. Then, apparently at an hour when a woodcutter would have a meal, you know, the typical way of telling time, at that hour, Agamemnon starts killing. One momentous killing went this way, quote, Agamemnon stabbed him between the eyes, and the spear was not only stopped by the heavy bronze of his helmet, but
I could make scrambled eggs.
through it and through the bone, and his brain splattered inside the bronze, and he fell in the dust. From there, Agamemnon just keeps on killing.
Make some scrambled eggs and sourdough toast.
Endless killing.
That sounds pretty good.
Agamemnon keeps on killing and urging the rest of the Greeks on with him. They all surge forward through the Trojans, mowing them down as they go. The Trojans at this point are basically forced backward toward the gates to their city. When they get there, they wait for the stragglers still being chased on by the Greeks. Closer and closer the Greeks get to the walls of Troy. Agamemnon's at the head of the party, but when he finally reaches the gates, Zeus finally decides that now is the time to insert himself in battle. He heads down to Mount Ida, the mountain of Troy, holding a thunderbolt in his hands. He calls Iris. Remember Iris? The messenger god before Hermes was the messenger god? Or she's a goddess, rather. Zeus calls down Iris and sends her with a message for Hector. Iris races towards the leader of the Trojans and gives him this message. As long as he can see Agamemnon at the front of the Greek army, he needs to keep himself back in order for the Trojan army to take the brunt of the attack. Hector himself must keep back. When Agamemnon is brought down by any weapons, then Zeus grants Hector the power to kill until he reaches the Greek ships and the sun sets. Quite the order. Let your men be killed and injured in place of yourself until someone else takes down the equally powerful leader on the Greek side. But Hector realizes that the best thing he can do here is what Zeus ordered. He's annoying and angry, that Zeus, after all, but why fuck with him? So the Trojans fight the Greeks, but Hector stays back, watching and waiting. And Agamemnon continues taking down Trojan after Trojan until finally he is stabbed in the elbow. The spear stabs all the way through Agamemnon's arm, but it doesn't stop him, and barely even slows him down. In return, Agamemnon kills the man who stabs him, finishing a family line, all in the course of a few thrusts of the spear. Blood gushing from his wound, Agamemnon continues to fight the Trojans. But after a little while, the blood starts to dry and harden, and just like that, Agamemnon is overcome with pain. According to this translation, pain just like a woman in labor. Yeah.
Jon Stewart is back in the host chair at The Daily Show, which means he's also back in our ears on The Daily Show Ears Edition podcast. The Daily Show podcast has everything you need to stay on top of today's news and pop culture. You get hilarious, satirical takes on entertainment, politics, sports, and more from Jon and the team of correspondents and contributors. The podcast also has content you can't get anywhere else, like extended interviews and a roundup of the weekly headlines. Listen to The Daily Show, Ears Edition, on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Hi, I'm Martha Stewart, and we're back with a new season of my podcast. This season will be even more revealing and more personal, with more entrepreneurs, more trailblazers, more live events, more Martha, and more questions from you. I'm talking to my cosmetic dermatologist, Dr. Dan Belkin, about the secrets behind my skincare. Walter Isaacson about the geniuses who changed the world. Encore Jane about creating a billion-dollar startup. Dr. Elisa Pressman about the 5 basic strategies to help parents raise good humans. Lawrence Fabricant about the authenticity in the world of food writing. Be sure to tune in to Season 2 of the Martha Stewart Podcast. Listen and subscribe to the Martha Stewart Podcast on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Azure Standard presents David's Corner with founder and organic pioneer, David Stelzer.
Sometimes it is easy to see the scarcity in our lives, but I tell you that God created enough abundance for all. Sometimes we just have to work for it a little bit. So create abundance in the areas of your life that matter most, in your health, in your homes, in your relationships and families. Those are the important things. Here at Azure, our job is to create abundance directly from the farm to your home of healthy food products. And we're here to do that job. And as you create abundance in all the areas that matter in your life, remember that God made an abundant world.
That was David's Corner, presented by David Stelzer, founder and CEO of Azure Standard, America's premier supplier of organic foods and over 12,000 healthful products. Join our community for free at azurestandard.com.
So apparently after experiencing pain just like a woman in labor, which I still have no words for, Agamemnon is finally slowed down and he gets in his chariot and heads back toward the Greek ships. He calls out to the other Greeks as he leaves that they must continue fighting and
Yeah,
keep the Trojans
shrimp.
away from the Greek ships. He even claims it's Zeus advising him to withdraw now. Who's to say? But if that's true, Zeus is really helping.
So you
Hector
can
out.
get shrimp from the white ones.
Hector
All
ignores much as
okey
Agamemnon as he
dokey.
begins to retreat back toward the Greek ships, and he knows his time has come. He motions the Trojans and tells them that they're all to make their way toward the ships, taking down whoever they can in the process. Zeus has just told him it's time for him to be victorious. The Trojans have all their confidence brought back to them by this news, and the tables turn completely. They'd just been forced all the way back to the gates of their city, and now they know it's their turn. But not to forget about the real hero here. Odysseus sees this renewed energy in the Trojans and watches as Hector orders them to make their way toward the ships. And he motions to Diomedes, pointing out what he's just seen, and asking him to stand by to fight. Diomedes immediately is a Debbie Downer and notes that there's no point because clearly Zeus has given victory to Hector just now, but Odysseus is a badass, and he continues on. Between the two of them, they begin decimating the Trojan troops. Hector sees this and makes his way towards Odysseus and Diomedes to try to stop them himself. Diomedes throws his spear at Hector's head, but it's stopped by his helmet. Hector falls to his knees from the force of the spear, but before Diomedes can finish him off, he's distracted, and Hector leaps up and into his chariot, escaping Diomedes. Diomedes takes his anger out on any and all Trojans nearby, but meanwhile, Paris, he who started it all, watches from away. His bowstring pulled back as he aims at Diomedes. He releases the arrow and it pierces through Diomedes' foot. Not a kill shot, to say the least. But Paris is truly a little dink, and he jumps up in the air and yells about how his arrow flew straight and Diomedes is injured. Yeah, an arrow through a foot is a real feat, Paris. Pun intended. Diomedes responds by ranting and raving about how Paris barely scratched him and how Diomedes could kill anyone. How when he wounds a man, it's fatal. Not like this nonsense wound Paris has just given him. And when he finishes this lengthy rant, Odysseus provides cover for him while he yanks the arrow out and then complains loudly about how much pain he's in. So can his charioteer please bring him back to the ships? So Diomedes has left him. All of the Greeks have left him. Odysseus is alone. As I mentioned at the top, I'm psyched to say that this episode is sponsored by Prep Dish. Again, Prep Dish is a meal planning service that makes it a whole lot easier to cook healthy meals, because you don't actually have to do any of the thinking. Prep Dish serves up gluten-free and paleo meal plans, and you can make them dairy-free too. Each week you get the plan in your inbox. It tells you everything you need to know so that you just buy the ingredients. You do a fun prep day where you get everything ready, and then when it comes to the actual dinner day, you just cook up what you've prepped based on their detailed and easily understandable instructions, and you're sitting in front of an incredible, healthy, and tasty meal. I've mentioned maybe one too many times that I am crazy busy lately. My job is seemingly endless, and the days I have off are typically spent researching, writing, and recording this podcast, so I was incredibly excited to try Prep Dish. Now, full disclosure, I love gluten. Big fan of bread. But my sister, who is also my roommate, is hardcore celiac. Truly, it sucks. And so the plans provided by Prep Dish were a real lifesaver. They've given me an excuse to eat a little less bread, which is something every gluten lover could do every once in a while, and I can make a meal that my sister and I can share, and she will avoid being poisoned. Allison, the founder of Prep Dish, is offering my listeners
a blue spot and you give me a herring?
2-week trial of this awesome meal planning service when you visit the website prepdish.com/myths. That's prepdish.com/myths. prepdish.com/myths. You'll also find that link in the description for this episode. Prep Dish makes cooking meals easier. It takes the guesswork out of making tasty and healthy meals and is utterly ideal for people with busy lives or those who just aren't particularly creative in the kitchen. Or if you're like me and both of those things, it's basically a godsend. Pseudo pun intended. Odysseus, my main man Odysseus, is alone. the only Greek in a sea of incoming Trojans. So what's Odysseus to do? He decides it will be disgraceful if he were to flee just because he's outnumbered. He's no coward, and clearly it's Zeus that scattered the Greeks away from him. No, he knows he needs to stand his ground and show the Trojans who's boss. They get nearer and nearer, the army of Trojans who have quickly realized that the great Odysseus
I've never seen it pop out like that. That
making
was
him, from their perspective,
absolutely
just a little less
wild to see.
And just like that, Odysseus starts taking out Trojans left and right. Before anyone can get their heads around what's happening, he's taken out 6 Trojans.
Wow.
Finally, a Trojan comes at Odysseus and stabs him with a spear. It pierces his armor and makes it through to his chest, but Athena, we're told, prevents it from doing any major damage. Odysseus realizes that he's not mortally wounded, and he tells this Trojan who's just stabbed him that today will be this man's last day on Earth. And just like that, he stabs him in the chest, and it's all over for this dude. Odysseus is a fucking badass. But still, Odysseus has been wounded, and the other Trojans notice that he's bleeding. They start moving in closer, and Odysseus realizes that he can't keep them back much longer, especially now that he's injured. So he starts shouting for help. Eventually, Menelaus hears him from wherever he is on the battlefield, and he tells Ajax, who's there with him, that they must go find Odysseus and help him. So those two take off, and they quickly find Odysseus, who's surrounded by Trojans who are closing in fast. Ajax and Menelaus help Odysseus into a chariot so they can get him off the battlefield to have his wounds taken care of, and Ajax starts taking out Trojans himself. Now, remember, Ajax is legit called Ajax the Great, and so he is incredibly intimidating to the Trojans. He's just a straight-up enormous dude, and he knows what he's doing with the spear. He does some real damage to the Trojans right there. Meanwhile, Hector is fighting the Greeks far off from where this has all gone down with Odysseus and Ajax and Menelaus. He's kicking butt himself. Honestly, it's tricky to know who to root for here, because both sides have awesome dudes and huge assholes. As Hector is fighting the Greeks, dinky old Paris uses another one of his arrows and he takes out Machaon, the healer. Those who have read the Song of Achilles will know Machaon is the one who taught Patroclus how to be a healer during the war itself. The Greeks quickly get Machaon off the battlefield. They know how important he is. They need their healer healed. As this is happening, a Trojan points out to Hector that they're fighting on the edge of the battle, but that Ajax is over there decimating the Trojans deeper into the battle. Realizing this dude is right, Hector and the Trojan race off toward Ajax. They recognize how damaging he can be. He's just so fucking big and strong.
Yes.
Ajax is outnumbered,
Yes.
but he's still doing his best. One moment, the Trojans get closer to him, nearer and nearer with their spears, and the next, he's bending them all strength his skill with his spear.
Yeah.
Single-handedly, Ajax stops the Trojans from advancing toward the Greek ships. Ajax is a fucking savior.
Get some especially
Another
shiny rocks.
Notices that Ajax is fighting the Trojans like a real fucking badass, but that he's doing it all alone, and he won't be able to continue on like this much longer. He gets together a bunch of Greeks to go help Ajax, where he's fending off the Trojans from getting closer to the Greek ships.
Got the bass.
Ajax is really slowing down now.
We got the bass, we got the bass. Yeah, we got it.
Back at the Greek tents, Machaon has just been brought in by Nestor, and Achilles sees them coming. He's standing on his ship, not necessarily preparing to leave, but also not acting like he's not preparing to leave. He's a really good guy at this point in the war, just a stand-up fellow. Essentially, he's just watching from on high as the Greeks are slaughtered, knowing that all they want is to have him help them, and thinking, nah, I won't be doing that. I'll just stand here and watch, even though everyone outwardly refers to me as the best of the Greeks, and I'm just doing nothing while they're all dying. Achilles calls for Patroclus, calling him, of course, joy of my heart, pointing out that now the Greeks will really need to come to him and beg for him to help them. Man, he's being a dick. After pointing out this super unhelpful point, he asked Patroclus to go help Nestor bring Machaon in, though he's
None
not
of those
entirely
were especially shiny. They were just gems.
Arriving at the the tent where Nestor has just brought Machion, Patroclus confirms it is who they think it is. Their healer has
We hadn't come to the
Nestor offers him a drink.
glade of trust either.
But Patroclus declines, pointing out that he's really only there because Achilles asked him to figure out who it was that Nestor was bringing in wounded. Now that he knows it's Machion, he'll head right back out to let Achilles know. But Nestor, rightfully, calls Patroclus out here. He asks him why Achilles gives a good goddamn who's injured now. He's clearly not concerned with what's happening with the Greeks, as he has zero inclination to help them. Nestor tells Patroclus that so many of their best men are wounded. Diomedes, Odysseus, Agamemnon, they're all in trouble, and Achilles hasn't seemed to give a fuck up to this point, so why should he give a fuck about Machion? Nestor proceeds to tell an epically long story about, basically, his golden years. He complains that he's not the man he used to be, and if he was, then he'd help more, but old Nestor likes to emphasize just how old he is.
4 more shrimps.
The story is about how great he used to be and how brave and wonderful a hero, but he's not now, so here he is. Then he calls on Patroclus'
For now, let's take a brief break.
He reminds Patroclus that when his father sent him to be with Achilles in the first place, way back when, he told him that Achilles was of a higher station than Patroclus in life. He's no
I don't understand how that
Patroclus' role
pulls on my hair, but I guess it does.
To give Achilles sensible words that he could
sucks, because I want my...
So
maybe if I
Nestor
just,
tells
like,
Patroclus he should speak with Achilles,
put it all
appeal
up.
to his true nature. Maybe Achilles will come around and help them. Or
so it's not just pulling
Nestor
on there?
suggests, if not,
Nah,
if Achilles
it's just
won't
like
come
every
around
one
to
of my
help the
hair
Greeks
follicles
defeat the
hurt,
Trojans
man.
because of some prophecy from Zeus, something Achilles' mother, Thetis, may have told him. If there's something like that holding Achilles back, something that won't change no matter how much they appeal to his humanity, then maybe there's something else that Patroclus can do. Now remember, there is indeed a prophecy that Thetis told Achilles. Does Nestor know this for sure? It's not clear, but this is ultimately something that is holding Achilles back. I think right now he's also just straight up being a dick, but the original dickishness is based in this prophecy that if Achilles goes to war, then he'll die. But if he doesn't, he'll live a long life, though he'll be unknown. Nestor suggests that Patroclus ask Achilles to instead send Patroclus himself out into battle. Nestor suggests that Patroclus ask Achilles to send him out in Achilles' own armor, and with the rest of the Myrmidons following him as if Patroclus were Achilles himself. Nestor tells Patroclus that this will be easy. He can impersonate Achilles no problem, he just needs the armor and the Myrmidons. The Trojans will be so tired and the Myrmidons so fresh, together they'll soon drive the Trojans back toward Troy and away from the Greek camp. It'll be easy, Nestor tells Patroclus. It's a good idea, Nestor tells Patroclus. Impersonate Achilles, Nestor tells Patroclus. What could go wrong? Thank you all for listening to me once again. It's truly lovely. As usual, you can follow me on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, where I post mythological things, but also things that are funny and vaguely related to myths. Or maybe sometimes just pictures of myself holding merchandise I designed and then bought for myself because I'm a self-supporter, which is a term I just made up. You can also support me on Patreon or via one-time donation on my PayPal. Both can be found on my website, mythsbaby.com, under the Wanna Help tab. Today, as I explained to my sister/roommate how during this 7-day-in-a-row stretch that I'm working, I have to research, write, and then record, edit this podcast over the evenings of the next 5 days in a row that I work, she said simply, "You do so much fucking work." She may not have said fucking, she doesn't swear nearly as much as I do. But anyway, that's all my way of subtly pointing out that if you love this podcast, I'd love if you supported me, either by following me on some sort of social media, or by supporting me by one of the ways I just mentioned. Anything and everything is appreciated, but I also understand if you can't, and bear with me while I ask, because, why not ask? But also, I love you even if you don't. Also, now may be the best time ever to support me, because next month I will be heading on a trip to Athens, where I will inundate Patreon and, to a lesser extent, standard social media with posts and pictures and endless endless pieces of information about the history of Athens and ancient Greece as a whole, and obviously, and most importantly, the mythology. And, well, a data roaming plan out of Canada is like $100 for a single gig of data because it sucks to have a cell phone in Canada. So, I could use all the help I can get. And speaking of Patreon, you can still vote in the poll I have out about which movie to watch and discuss next. Currently in the lead is Troy, which would be a fun one because Brad Pitt ain't that bad to look at in it. Vote now, because in a little while I have 3 days off in a row and I'm going to watch and write and record the next Patreon-specific episode then. Okay, one final piece of housekeeping. I hope to release the first newsletter on August 15th. I'll tell you some fun things, I'll share a personal anecdote or two, I'll give you books to read, we'll have a wonderful old time. Also, I'll do it only once a month because I'm not made of time and you all probably receive enough emails as it is. So if you want in on that, visit my website and sign up on the homepage. Thank you again, you lovely people. You're the best. And thanks to Prep Dish for sponsoring this episode. I'm Liv, and I love this shit.
Hi, I'm Martha Stewart, and we're back with a new season of my podcast. This season will be even more revealing and more personal, with more entrepreneurs, more trailblazers, more live events, more Martha, and more questions from you. I'm talking to my cosmetic dermatologist, Dr. Dan Belkin, about the secrets behind my skincare. Walter Isaacson about the geniuses who changed the world. Encore Jane about creating a billion-dollar startup. Dr. Elisa Pressman about the 5 basic strategies to help parents raise good humans. Florence Fabricant about the authenticity in the world of food writing. Be sure to tune in to Season 2 of the Martha Stewart Podcast. Listen and subscribe to the Martha Stewart Podcast on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Jon Stewart is back in the host chair at The Daily Show, which means he's also back in our ears on The Daily Show Ears Edition podcast. The Daily Show podcast has everything you need to stay on top of today's news and pop culture. You get hilarious, satirical takes on entertainment, politics, sports, and more from Jon and the team of correspondents and contributors. The podcast also has content you can't get anywhere else, like extended interviews and a roundup of the weekly headlines. Listen to The Daily Show, Ears Edition on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
If you want to level up your marketing and business knowledge, then look no further than the Marketing School podcast hosted by Neil Patel and yours truly, Eric Sue. It is the #1 marketing podcast in the United States and number 15 on business in the United States. And it has amazing guests such as Alex Ramondi Sanchez. We pull in these amazing interviews with other people that are not only great marketers, but actual operators. And the icing on the cake is Neil and myself were also operators as well. So we share learnings from the trenches. We share secrets that we otherwise wouldn't be sharing with other people. And we also share other advantages that will help you get ahead of your competition. So all you have to do is listen to Marketing School every weekday on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Are you self-conscious about your smile due to stains? Have you ever wished that you had a whiter and brighter smile? Smile Actives is a safe and affordable alternative to expensive whitening procedures. You simply add Smile Actives gel to your toothpaste every time you brush your teeth, making it the easiest teeth whitening solution out there. In a clinical trial, Smile Actives users reported up to 5 shades whiter on average, all within 7 days. No change to your routine, no extra time. Right now, they are running a buy one, get one offer. Hurry to smileactives.com/iHeart today to receive this special offer with free shipping and handling.
The legends are true. Building power.
Sauce of destiny.
Yes! The most legendary sauce has arrived as McDonald's transforms into the anime world of WickDonald's. The greatest flavors unite in all-new savory chili McDonald's sauce to make your 10-piece McNuggets, fries, and Sprite ultra-powerful. Unlock manga comics with every meal and sit down for a new anime short every week only at WickDonald's. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba, go!
I participate in McDonald's for a limited time. Supplies list.
All-inclusive vacations make life easy with all-inclusive getaway with Apple Vacations and receive exclusive perks at select resorts. You'll find the best deals to Hyatt Zilara Riviera Maya in Mexico and enjoy a selection of exclusive non-stop vacation flights. Turn on easy mode at applevacations.com or call your local travel advisor to get started. Visit applevacations.com or call your local travel advisor to get started.
Hello, this is Let's Talk About Myths, baby. I'm Liv, your resident nerd. Thanks for your patience with this episode. It's good and delayed because I've been working on something super cool. The very awesome people over at Zirkel magazine in Berlin have asked me to contribute some adapted myths to be included in their upcoming edition. You can find the magazine online at zqzaubert.de or zqzaubert.de for you weirdo Americans, and you should be able to buy it there too when this edition comes out. The plan for that is October, and I'll absolutely be updating you guys as it gets closer to, and if they let me know whether it's on time or delayed, what have you. But for now, it was pretty fun, and I got to practice my skills in writing incredibly succinctly in order to adhere to their length limitations. If I've learned anything, it's that I'm a wordy writer. Now that that's done, though, and this episode is finally out, thank you again for your patience. You'll be able to look out for the first Myths Baby newsletter sometime very soon, along with the newest Patreon episode, where I'll be discussing the movie The Clash of the Titans. And we're talking the more recent one here, because I just don't know how to handle the 80s one quite yet. The poll on Patreon was slightly in favor of the movie Troy
the 80s
instead,
is classic,
but then I
man.
quickly realized that was a stupid plan on my part, because here I am making my way through the Trojan War and the Iliad. I don't really want to have to jump ahead in my research just to cover the details in the movie. So instead, as soon as we're done with this endless
I had no
war,
clue that my purple
the very
comforter
next
fit
Patreon
inside my
episode will
duvet
be on
cover.
the movie Troy.
Duvet cover.
And with that business out of the way, back to this
That's a
story
game changer.
for so long. This is episode
Like, and it fits
37.
perfectly.
The Iliad.
You know, it makes me kind of sad that me and my mom aren't talking, because she got me this comforter and this duvet cover, and I would love to tell her that it fits perfectly together.
We're turning back to the battle itself and the Trojans who are
But her and I don't
on the walls the Greeks
speak. We're not on speaking terms currently,
The
so...
Trojans, still led by Hector, charge at the Greek camps. There are some quarrels among them, some underestimating just how much Zeus wants the Trojans to win at the moment, and some just pointing out how many will die, even if Hector is given glory by Zeus. Again, the Iliad is nothing if not incredibly detailed. One thing you're also missing out on by having me retell this story to you are the many rambling sentences that go on and on in order to describe the way something is happening. Endless metaphors and similes, and truly it's over the top. The Trojans reach the walls of the Greeks and begin to tear it down, but to no avail. Ajax comes to defend the Greeks, and he, in all his enormous strength, picks up a huge rock that we're told no man of today could lift. But Ajax held it above his head and hurled it down onto another dude's head, which, ouch. The Greeks and the Trojans are evenly matched. When one side gains ground, so does the other. When one side has a particularly gruesome and violent kill, so does the other. Neither side is showing any likelihood of victory until Zeus gives Hector the glory of being the first one to get inside the walls of the Greeks. He calls out to the other Trojans to follow him and to smash through the wall before lighting torches and burning the ships of the Greeks. Here now, Hector too grabs a huge rock, but in this case he can lift it because of Zeus's power, not because he's any bigger or any stronger than Ajax, because that's just crazy talk. No one is. Hector carries this rock to the doors of the walls of the Greeks, and with one throw he knocks the doors off their hinges, and all the Trojans can enter the walls of the Greeks. Things are not looking good. Once Hector was through the walls and the armies were still fighting non-stop, with the Trojans now able to break through toward the Greek ships, This is when Zeus decides he's gotten a little bored and will no longer watch the war between the two groups. He leaves the armies there to anguish and turns his eyes away from the battle. He knows that things are safe.
That's so amazing.
The other gods that they aren't to insert themselves into the fray anymore. Though he had made that perfectly clear to most of the gods, but there was one who was more than willing to anger his brother if it meant he could help the Greeks. Poseidon has been watching from Samothrace, and he is really feeling for the Greeks as they're being endlessly defeated by the Trojans. Plus, he's not psyched that Zeus got to include himself in the war and decided who would win. Poseidon wants that power too. So now that Zeus is, for the time being, not watching what's happening on Earth, Poseidon decides to shake things up. Lord knows this story is just a series of back and forths between the Greeks and the Trojans.
Awesome.
No one group can be the lead for a significant amount of time. So Poseidon, earth shaker that he is, cheers on the Greeks in the form of Calchas, the seer that had been helping them from the beginning. Poseidon transforms himself into Calchas and goes amongst the Greeks to encourage them to keep fighting and to stay strong. He talks to the two Ajaxes, and after a rousing speech, he taps them with a staff he seems to carry and fills them with power. Of course, I want to picture this as a trident, Little Mermaid style, but it's not clear. He continues, stirring up all the Greeks to fill them with motivation and the will to succeed against the Trojans, even in the face of their not great odds at the moment. But it's amazing what the encouraging words from a god can do. After Poseidon goes through and hypes up all the Greeks,
dang it! 424. See,
and they all band together.
I give up on even trying to catch a 420 somewhere now.
The Trojans by whatever means necessary.
But thank you to anyone that's here with me, hanging out. It'd be nice to have someone to chat with me, but it's just nice to be in Club Kottontale where I don't feel such a load, because I just feel very icky and poo-pooey.
Dozen people. It's too much, Homer. So they fight. They fight and they fight and they fight. There are deaths on both sides, injuries and insults, and endless conversation.
I'll wash my hands and the pot I need for my noodles.
That's just Homer for you. At this point, given Poseidon's intrusion, it's God against God, brother against brother, Zeus fighting Poseidon for the lives of either side. And when it becomes God fighting God, it's the humans who suffer. The gods don't care about the individuals. Zeus wants the Trojans to succeed, at least for another while, due to how badly he felt that Achilles was treated, and how much Achilles' mom, Thetis, has implored Zeus to cause harm for the Greeks, and Poseidon wants the Greeks to win because he feels sorry for them with Zeus against them. But it's really about a little brotherly infighting. The gods pull at either side, and the battle goes back and forth, and back and forth. Finally, back at the Greek camp, Nestor meets with the injured Greek kings, Agamemnon, Diomedes, and my main man Odysseus. Nestor has been watching from afar. You remember Nestor is old and likes to emphasize this, like, all the time, and he's got some words. Nestor points out to the others that the Trojans really are gaining on them. They thought the wall would keep them back, but that's already failed, and the Trojans are fighting relentlessly to get to the Greek ships. It isn't going well for the Greeks, even with the help of Poseidon, because Poseidon appears to the Greeks as the various human Greek characters, but everyone seems to always know when they're talking to a god anyway. To this, Agamemnon readily points out that he's noticed the same, but he finally suggests that that night, in the dark, they should drag the rest of their ships to the water and keep them ready. He says that there's no shame in running away from disaster, even under the cover of night. Better to run than be killed, he says. Odysseus, hero of heroes, thinks this is the most cowardly thing to propose, and I don't think he's wrong. Running away in the dead of the night? Yeah, that's super fucking valiant, Agamemnon. Odysseus tells Agamemnon that if he's so spineless, he should be commanding an equally spineless army, not this one full of brave and badass Greeks. Odysseus goes so far as to legitimately ask Agamemnon if he's lost his mind, which serves to promptly force Agamemnon back into reality. Oops, there goes gravity. He agrees with Odysseus, and they decide that they won't be running away. They'll stand and fight, Which, I mean, it's been 10 fucking years. You're really considering just piecing out after all this time? I mean, what do you even have to go back to? We'll have the answer to that soon enough, but now is not the time. After Agamemnon has conceded that it really was a stupid plan, Diomedes takes over, proposing a plan for heading back to the battle, even for those that are wounded. Of course, Poseidon is still watching all of this, firmly on the side of the Greeks and against the machinations of his brother, Zeus. Poseidon returns to the Greeks, this time in the form of an old man, and he goes to talk to Agamemnon this time. The purpose of this is essentially just to badmouth Achilles. Poseidon tells Agamemnon that Achilles must be really loving this, watching all the slaughter. There's nothing human in him, Poseidon tells him. We're really anti-Achilles at this point. My mother's going to yell at me that I didn't pronounce it anti, like the good Canadian that I am, but I did say Z earlier, and Z just sounds wrong. So anyway, I digress. Having sufficiently badmouthed Achilles, Poseidon once again instills bravery and determination in the Greeks. It appears that, truly, all it takes to win a war is a rousing speech or two from an angry Olympian god. Meanwhile, there's another angry Olympian god reinserting herself in the mix. Hera is watching from Olympus, and she's thrilled that Poseidon is helping the Greeks, even after Zeus forbade them all from doing so. But more than that, Homer refers to Hera watching Poseidon, calling him her brother and brother-in-law, and I just think it's hilarious that the Greeks gave so few fucks that their gods were supremely incestuous. Like, no big, he's just her brother and her brother-in-law. The usual. So Hera watches her brother and brother-in-law as he rouses the Greeks, and she wants to help. She looks from Poseidon down on Earth with the Greeks over to Zeus as he hangs out on Mount Ida, just doing whatever it is gods do on mountains as they fuck with the lives of the humans down below. Hera sees Zeus, and she's angry all over again. She needs to help Poseidon as he helps the Greeks. It's not even about the Greeks so much as it is about fucking with Zeus. What a marriage. And speaking of their marriage, it's about to get a whole lot weirder. Hera wants to get even with her husband, and she knows that most of the power she has is in her sexuality. And also she knows that her husband is an enormous perv who's basically unconcerned with anything except who he can fuck at any given time. So she figures she'll use this to her advantage. Hera concludes that the best way for her to fuck over Zeus and help Poseidon and the Greeks is if she makes herself entirely irresistible, and then after she and Zeus have sex, she'll make him fall asleep with the help of, yes, sleep. That's with a capital S. Hera wants to do this to Zeus so that Poseidon and the Greeks won't be interrupted by an angry Zeus who still wants the Greeks to suffer because he insulted Achilles and Achilles' mom put anger in his path. The drama. So Hera gets to work, making herself sexy as fuck. She has a nice bath, she rubs some olive oil and ambrosia on herself, ancient moisturizer. She puts on earrings and a nice dress, she braids her hair, the whole shebang. But that's not quite enough. As much as Hera knows she's hot, she also knows she's going to need to be a major distraction for Zeus here. So her natural talents won't be quite enough. She also needs some magic in the mix. So she visits Aphrodite. Hera heads over to wherever it is that Aphrodite's hanging out on Mount Olympus, and she gets straight to the point. Hera asks Aphrodite if she'll help her, though she also immediately asks Aphrodite if maybe she's still too angry at Hera because she wants to help the Greeks, but Aphrodite wants to help the Trojans, and I just think that if you want someone's help, maybe don't remind them of why they were recently mad at you. You pretend it's all good. Come on, Hera, you're more conniving than that. Aphrodite, though, agrees to help, even after Hera asked it in such a poor way. So Hera asks Aphrodite for something to make one irresistible. But, see, still, Hera can't exactly tell Aphrodite why she needs to be irresistible, because, as Hera just reminded Aphrodite, they're on opposite sides of the current fray. So instead, Hera makes up a lie. An intricate, detailed lie. Hera tells Aphrodite that she needs the desire because she's on her way to visit Oceanus and Tethys. Oceanus and Tethys are two titans, and apparently at this point they've been fighting for a while. Hera reminds us of this as she tells Aphrodite that Oceanus and Tethys have had a never-ending quarrel, and because of that, they haven't had sex in ages. Hera wants these folks to get laid. Aphrodite promptly agrees. This is a great use of her magic, how could she not? And so she gives Hera a sash, which she says holds all of her love magic. Hera should put it in between her breasts, Aphrodite tells her, because I guess that's the best place to keep your magic. Seems fair. Nowadays it's a great place to keep a couple of bills, if you need it. Very proud of herself, Hera takes the sash, places it neatly between her tits, and thanks Aphrodite.
Are you self-conscious about your smile due to stains? Have you ever wished that you had a whiter and brighter smile? Smile Actives is a safe and affordable alternative to expensive whitening procedures. You simply add Smile Actives gel to your toothpaste every time you brush your teeth, making it the easiest teeth whitening solution out there. In a clinical trial, Smile Actives users reported up to 5 shades whiter on average, all within 7 days. No change to your routine, no extra time. Right now, they are running a buy one, get one offer. Hurry to smileactives.com/iHeart today to receive this special offer with free shipping and handling.
The legends are true. Building power. Yes! The most legendary sauce has arrived as McDonald's transforms into the anime world of WickDonald's. The greatest flavors unite in all new savory chili McDonald's sauce to make your 10-piece Wick Nuggets, fries, and Sprite ultra powerful. Unlock manga comics with every meal and sit down for a new anime short every week only at WickDonald's. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba, go! At participating McDonald's for a limited time while supplies last.
Your getaway with Apple Vacations begins the moment you step on board one of our exclusive non-stop vacation flights. Escape the ordinary with packages starting at just $599. No layovers, just pure relaxation from takeoff to touchdown. Immerse yourself in the joy of travel with Apple Vacations. Your journey is as enchanting as the destination, so pack your bags and leave the rest to us. Visit applevacations.com or call your local travel advisor to book your vacation.
Hera is on to the next stage of her plan. Now she needs to ensure that after they've fucked, Zeus will indeed fall asleep. She travels to Lemnos, where Sleep, the brother of Death, lives. Sleep, or Hypnos, if we're giving him a real name and not just a word that describes him. Hera goes to Hypnos, and instead of lying to him like she did Aphrodite, she decides straight-up bribery should do the trick in this case. Hera tells Hypnos that if she makes Zeus fall asleep into a long, long slumber after they've had sex, then she'll have her son Hephaestus make him a magnificent throne with a nice little footstool and everything. It's hard to pass that up. I don't know, Hypnos tells Hera. He explains that he really shouldn't do that, even for a nice throne. See, if it was to any other god, that would be fine. He'd totally do it for her, but he can't do it to Zeus. Hypnos tells Hera that there was another time when he tried to help someone out and make Zeus fall asleep. But when he woke up and found out what Hypnos had done, he fucking lost it. Zeus was throwing gods around and generally just losing his shit. So Hypnos tells Hera he learned his lesson and that's just not going to happen again. But then Hera instead offers him one of the Graces to be his wife, and obviously that's a totally different story. What? You'll give me a woman who doesn't know me and you'll force her to marry me? Deal. What a bargain, Hypnos thinks, and he jumps around giddily. He gets to marry one of the Graces. Who cares if she has no interest? That's of no concern to him. So Hypnos has agreed to help Hera, and they fly off together toward Mount Ida, where Hera knows Zeus has been hanging out lately. Before they reach Zeus, Hypnos splits off and he flies into the tallest tree, where he disguised himself as a bird that we're told, quote, the gods call a bronze throat, but men's name for it is hawk owl. Pointless information, Homer. Just pointless. And there he perches in the tree to watch them fuck, like a real weirdo. Hera continues on to find her husband, When she finds him, he's so taken with her that he's filled with a desire that rivals even when they were first lovers and had to hide from their parents. Of course, parents here isn't used to describe two sets of parents, but of course the same set of parents, because they are brother and sister, which is something I feel I should remind us all every once in a while. So this brother and sister meet up, and Zeus is immediately all over her and truly horny as fuck. He asks her why she's there. Why isn't she on Mount Olympus? And Hera tells him the same story she told Aphrodite, that she's on her way to Oceanus and Tethys to convince them to have sex. Totally normal errand for the gods, apparently, because exactly 0 of them question why Hera is concerned with this or why she might be in any position to convince them to stop fighting and instead have sex. These gods live weird lives. After explaining this as the general reason she's away from Olympus, though, Hera turns her attention to Zeus's ego. She tells him that the real reason she's there with him is that she wanted to make sure he wouldn't be angry with her when he found out where she was going and what she was doing. She bats her eyes and she puts on an air of, oh, woe is me, I'm a tiny little woman who needs her husband's approval before she does things. Zeus falls for it all. He tells Hera that she can go to Oceanus and Tethys later, because right now they need to get it on. Or in this translation, be joined in pleasure. Zeus proceeds to tell Hera just how into her he is in this moment. Never before has he felt so much desire for a woman, he tells her. And he should have stopped his speech there. Simple, succinct, and flattering. But he doesn't. Never before has he felt so much desire for a woman, he tells her. Not with Ixion's wife, or with Acrisius' daughter, Danae, or with Phoenix's daughter, Europa, or with Semele, or Alcmene. Not with Demeter or Leto has he felt so much desire for a woman. Not with any of these other women with whom he's cheated on Hera has he felt the desire he now feels for his wife, whom he's cheated on countless times. It's not even like he named all the women there. Of course not. That's just a sampling to really make Hera feel special. Sometimes I wonder why so many of these women put up a fight with Zeus. I mean, with that charm, it's a wonder not every single one of them throws herself at him. How do they resist? Hera, of course, is 100% used to this type of behavior, and so she doesn't take any kind of offense to this information. She just powers through. We can't do it here, she feigns to Zeus. We're on top of a mountain. All the other gods will see us if we do it here. What a scandal it would be on Mount Olympus if we were caught. No, she tells him. There are lots of private rooms in our home on Mount Olympus. We should really go there. But Zeus is not into waiting. Look, Hera, he tells her, I promise no one will see us, not god or human. What do you say I cover you up in a big golden cloud? Is that good enough? Not even Helios can see through this big golden cloud, I swear. With another feigned sigh, as if she was really conceding here, Hera agrees. They go at it like rabbits, but rabbits wrapped up in a golden cloud. When they're finished, Zeus starts to doze off, and Hypnos makes it so that he's for sure dozed, and will be like that as long as possible, before Hypnos himself flies away from the mountain and down to the Greeks on the beaches of Troy, and there he finds Poseidon. Hypnos tells him to lead the Greeks to victory as quickly as possible. He explains that Hera has just seduced Zeus and that Hypnos has put him into a deep sleep. Amazing news! Poseidon exclaims, probably, though technically I'm putting words in his mouth. With this thrilling development, Poseidon doubles his efforts to help the Greeks. He's determined to make this count. He goes through all the assembled Greeks and places it neatly between her tits and thanks Aphrodite. Thinks this is the most cowardly thing to propose, and I don't think he's wrong. Running away in the dead of the night? Yeah, that's super fucking valiant, Agamemnon. Odysseus tells Agamemnon that if he's to retell this story to you are the many, many rambling sentences that go on and on in order to describe the way something is happening. Endless metaphors and similes, and truly it's over the top. The Trojans reach the walls of the Greeks and begin to tear it down, but to no avail. Ajax comes to defend the Greeks, and he, in all his enormous strength, picks up a huge rock that we're told no man of today could lift. But Ajax held it above his head and hurled it down onto another dude's head, which, ouch. The Greeks and the Trojans are evenly matched. When one side gains ground, so does the other. When one side has a particularly gruesome and violent kill, so does the other. Neither side is showing any likelihood of victory until Zeus gives Hector the glory of being the first one to get inside the walls of the Greeks. He calls out to the other Trojans to follow him and to smash through the wall before lighting torches and burning the ships of the Greeks. Here now Hector too grabs a huge rock, but in this case he can lift it because of Zeus's power, not because he's any bigger or any stronger than Ajax, because that's just crazy talk. No one is. Hector carries this rock to the doors of the walls of the Greeks, and with one throw he knocks the doors off their hinges, and all the Trojans can enter the walls of the Greeks. Things are not looking good. Once Hector was through the walls and the armies were still fighting non-stop, with the Trojans now able to break through toward the Greek ships, this is when Zeus decides he's gotten a little bored and will no longer watch the war between the two groups. He leaves the armies there to anguish and turns his eyes away from the battle. He knows that things are safe. He's made it perfectly clear to the other gods that they aren't to insert themselves into the fray anymore. Though he had made that perfectly clear to most of the gods, but there was one who was more than willing to anger his brother if it meant he could help the Greeks. Poseidon has been watching from Samothrace, and he is really feeling for the Greeks as they're being endlessly defeated by the Trojans. Plus, he's not psyched that Zeus got to include himself in the war and decided who would win. Poseidon wants that power too. So now that Zeus is, for the time being, not watching what's happening on Earth, Poseidon decides to shake things up. Lord knows this story is just a series of back and forths between the Greeks and the Trojans. No one group can be in the lead for any significant amount of time. So Poseidon, earth shaker that he is, cheers on the Greeks in the form of Calchas, the seer that had been helping them from the beginning. Poseidon transforms himself into Calchas and goes amongst the Greeks to encourage them to keep fighting and to stay strong. He talks to the two Ajaxes, and after a rousing speech, he taps them with a staff he seems to carry and fills them with power. Of course, I want to picture this as a trident, Little Mermaid style, but it's not clear. He continues, stirring up all the Greeks to fill them with motivation and the will to succeed against the Trojans, even in the face of their not great odds at the moment. But it's amazing what the encouraging words from a god can do, because after Poseidon goes through and hypes up all the Greeks, their courage grows like crazy, and they all band together around the Ajaxes and prepare to fight off the Trojans by whatever means necessary. Meanwhile, the Trojans charge at the Greeks, with Hector still leading the pack. The two sides fight. There's pages and pages of this battle, but honestly there are just too many names and too many minor details, including family lineage of a good dozen people. It's too much, Homer. So they fight. They fight and they fight and they fight. There are deaths on both sides, and injuries and insults, and endless conversation between the Greeks and the Trojans as they seemingly converse whilst killing each other. That's just Homer for you. At this point, given Poseidon's intrusion, it's god against god, brother against brother, Zeus fighting Poseidon for the lives of either side. And when it becomes god fighting god, it's the humans who suffer. The gods don't care about the individuals. Zeus wants the Trojans to succeed, at least for another while, due to how badly he felt that Achilles was treated, and how much Achilles' mom, Thetis, has implored Zeus to cause harm for the Greeks, and Poseidon wants the Greeks to win because he feels sorry for them with Zeus against them. But it's really about a little brotherly infighting. The gods pull at either side, and the battle goes back and forth, and back and forth. Finally, back at the Greek camp, Nestor meets with the injured Greek kings, Agamemnon, Diomedes, and my main man Odysseus. Nestor has been watching from afar. You remember Nestor is old and likes to emphasize this, like, all the time. And he's got some words. Nestor points out to the others that the Trojans really are gaining on them. They thought the wall would keep them back, but that's already failed, and the Trojans are fighting relentlessly to get to the Greek ships. It isn't going well for the Greeks, even with the help of Poseidon, because
Regal
Poseidon
items, and
appears
that's
to the
exactly
Greeks
why
as
I
the various
didn't
human Greek characters,
get
but
those,
everyone seems to always know when they're talking to a god anyway.
take those, because now we
To
got
this,
two.
Agamemnon readily points
Take a
out
picture.
that
Oh,
he's
I can
noticed
do
the same,
that.
but he finally suggests that that night, in the dark, they should drag the rest of their ships to the water and keep them ready. He says that there's no shame in running away from disaster, even under the cover of night. Better to run than be killed, he says. Odysseus, hero of heroes, thinks this is the most cowardly thing to propose, and I don't think he's wrong. Running away in the dead of the night? Yeah, that's
Sweet,
super
we only
fucking
need 2 more
valiant.
shrimp.
Odysseus
Yes,
tells
this
Agamemnon
pleases
that if
me.
he's so spineless, he
This
should be commanding
pleases
an
me.
equally spineless army, not this one full of brave and badass Greeks. Odysseus goes so far as to legitimately ask Agamemnon if he's lost his mind, which serves to promptly force Agamemnon back into reality. Oops, there goes gravity. He agrees with Odysseus, and they decide that they won't be running away. They'll stand and fight. Which, I mean, it's been 10 fucking years. You're really considering just piecing out after all this time? And I mean, what do you even have to go back to? We'll have the answer to that soon enough, but now is not the time. After Agamemnon has conceded that it really was a stupid plan, Diomedes takes over, proposing a plan for heading back to the battle, even for those that are wounded. Of course, Poseidon is still watching all of this, firmly on the side of the Greeks, and against the machinations of his brother, Zeus, Poseidon returns to the Greeks, this time in the form of an old man. And he goes to talk to Agamemnon this time. The purpose of this is essentially just to badmouth Achilles. Poseidon tells Agamemnon that Achilles must be really loving this, watching all the slaughter. There's nothing human in him, Poseidon tells him. We're really into Achilles at this point. My mother's going to yell at me that I didn't pronounce it like the good Canadian that I am. But I did say Z earlier, and Z just sounds wrong. So anyway, I digress. Having sufficiently bad-mouthed Achilles, Poseidon once again instills bravery and determination in the Greeks. It appears that, truly, all it takes to win a war is a rousing speech or two from an angry Olympian god. Meanwhile, there's another angry Olympian god reinserting herself in the mix. Hera is watching from Olympus, and she's thrilled that Poseidon is helping the Greeks, even after Zeus forbade them all from doing so. But more than that, Homer refers to Hera watching Poseidon, calling him her brother and brother-in-law, and I just think it's hilarious that the Greeks gave so few fucks that their gods were supremely incestuous. Like, no big, he's just her brother and her brother-in-law, the usual. So Hera watches her brother and brother-in-law as he rouses the Greeks, and she wants to help. She looks from Poseidon down on Earth with the Greeks over to Zeus as he hangs out on Mount Ida, just doing whatever it is gods do on mountains as they fuck with the lives of the humans down below. Hera sees Zeus. She's angry all over. She needs to help Poseidon as he helps the Greeks. It's not even about the Greeks so much as it is about fucking with Zeus. What a marriage. And speaking of their marriage, it's about to get a whole lot weirder. Hera wants to get even with her husband, and she knows that most of the power she has is in her sexuality. And also she knows that her husband is an enormous perv who's basically unconcerned with anything except who he can fuck at any given time. So she figures she'll use this to her advantage. Hera concludes that the best way for her to fuck over Zeus and help Poseidon and the Greeks is if she makes herself entirely irresistible, and then after she and Zeus have sex, she'll make him fall asleep with the help of, yes, sleep. That's with a capital S. Hera wants to do this to Zeus so that Poseidon and the Greeks won't be interrupted by an angry Zeus who still wants the Greeks to suffer because they insulted Achilles and Achilles is not put anger in his path. the drama. So Hera gets to work, making herself sexy as fuck. She has a nice bath, she rubs some olive oil and ambrosia on herself, ancient moisturizer. She puts on earrings and a nice dress, she braids her hair, the whole shebang. But that's not quite enough. As much as Hera knows she's hot, she also knows she's going to need to be a major distraction for Zeus here. So her natural talents won't be quite enough. She also needs some magic in the mix. So she visits Aphrodite. Hera heads over to wherever it is that Aphrodite's hanging out on Mount Olympus, and she gets straight to the point. Hera asks Aphrodite if she'll help her, though she also immediately asks Aphrodite if maybe she's still too angry at Hera because she wants to help the Greeks, but Aphrodite wants to help the Trojans, and I just think that if you want someone's help, maybe don't remind them of why they were recently mad at you. You pretend it's all good. Come on, Hera, you're more conniving than that. Aphrodite, though, agrees to help, even after Hera asked it in such a poor way. So Hera asks Aphrodite for something to make one irresistible. But, see, still, Hera can't exactly tell Aphrodite why she needs to be irresistible, because as Hera
Alright. So, I'm gonna leave the rest of these for future Amber, and we are gonna go into our house, into our mermaid medicine room, and have just that, some medicine, because my water should be close to hot enough for me to put my noodles in. And then when my noodles cook, we'll toke our bowl. And then I'll also make myself some bread, some butter bread. Found a very nifty way where I can butter it and toast it all at the same time by putting it in the instant vortex. It's phenomenal. So wild that it's already March 7th. 'Tis March 7th. March 16th is Michelle's middle child's birthday. She was born in 2011. So, 2021, she turned 10, 22, 23, 24. Damn, she's gonna be 13. Oh my gosh. Okay. Oh man. Okay, I got my bread buttered. I can't put it in the instant vortex yet because I gotta wait for the noodles to be majority of the way done. They'll continue to cook when I turn the burner off, but I need them to be pretty close to being done before I do that, so gives us a chance to start cooking on our bowl. You know what? We'll go with this one, so then she at least can be like lounging on her phone while we're chilling. I love her outfit. I love how it's like a mixture of Monsters Incorporated, but then also she's been fishing because of the stinking events. We just had finished the bass one. We still need 2 more shrimps. Should also see. Ooh. A new outfit. Aww. Cute little plushie. Ooh. We could get the cardigan. We're going to. It's so pretty. Yes, I would like to try my new sweater on. Oh, yeah. Dang it. Future Amber's not going to be very happy about that inventory, but that is 100% a Future Amber's problem. Cute. Yes. She looks adorable. Yep. this pleases me. Although, no, definitely with the white. That's what I was thinking, like, maybe we do some red stockings, but no. I like that a lot. Just gonna stir on noodles. I should at least put my sheet on, because I don't want to be full and putting my sheet on, because that will be annoying. Did not anticipate that getting done so fast. Oh, you know what it was? I made my bed. That damn shit. Oh, okay. I need to get this down somewhere before I fucking drop it. Let's just put it on the ground. Okay. Cute. You can't even tell what that is. It just looks like it's a blob with little blue. Oh, this all smells. Mm. Mm. Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. So I got my noms. I think I did a good job seasoning this time. We didn't make it too spicy. I had made a really fucking spicy noodle the other day. And Rainbow and I, like, we were eating it, and I'm like, oh, this is good. But I was like, it is spicy. She's like, yeah, it is pretty spicy. She's like, it tastes good on the chicken nugget. I'm like, yeah, it does. And I can smell the spice, but it's not overbearing. And I put olives in it. Oh, it's going to be so good. Oh, yeah. And it's nice and steamy. I'm going to put this on top of it. We'll try and turn, keep it a bit more steamy. The bread, I'm not worried about it getting cold. That's fucking good. Oh, man. It's 5:20. It means it's 4:20 somewhere. Cheers. I'm glad I thought of the butterfly clips because it has helped to keep my hair back, so then these pieces don't just plop down into the front, but it's not so pinchy to where it pulls on my hair. That really loose rubber band, or scrunchie rather, was still pulling it and hurting it. Because I have just like the most intense headache. I love how cute that is, but also beneficial because it's keeping the hair out of my face. Really from my mouth. Those tears tend to come down and get into my mouth. Because, let's be honest, I technically have hair on my face. Which bangs? I don't think people realize that when you get bangs, you have to trim them a lot. at least once a week, because they grow very fucking fast. So you either need to trim them yourself, or, you know, be able to afford to go to a salon every week. I thankfully can trim my own bangs, so to maintain this, I just, once every 2 weeks, I trim it. Although this one, I did it at the week mark because I just couldn't take it. They were starting to get to the long points where I was starting to put them to one side. I'm like, no, I don't want side swipe bangs. I want straight bangs. I just think the straight bangs with this length of hair looks so good. It smells like cooked olives. Oh, yeah. Oh, what the fudge? Apparently my dress has a big old fucking hole in it. Well, that's disappointing. It's definitely just an at-home dress now. Like, I have no clue where that came from. But man. Who knows how long it's been there, because I'm just now noticing it, but it's probably been there longer. Alright. Thank you to anyone that's been here. I'm going to do one last cheers with you, and then I'm going to end this video. I'm going to eat. I believe I got some Playboy murders to catch up on, but even if I don't have that to catch up on, I've started watching the Has Been Hotel on Prime. I'd already kind of thought about watching it, but then King River Glass, a drag king that I follow, did a Husk Himbo cosplay, and it had me feeling things, so now I need to watch the show that it was based upon. Because that's how my brain works. I truly appreciate and thank each and every one of you for tuning in, chilling with me, lurking, twerking, watching incognitally, watching it later on as posted content. I hope to actually get conversation, but in the end, Club Kottontale gives me what I need, even if someone doesn't happen to come into it. So, until next time, and always, remember to be kind to yourself and everyone else. And I'll see you next time. Bye.